Chapter 997 The Terrifying Fire Cry Race. In the sky above the Crimson Fire domain, more than 80 billion soldiers formed a vast and orderly formation in the fiery red sky. More than 80% of them were humans, 10% were fog monsters, and the remaining 10% were soldiers made up of dragons, volcanic dwarves, people of foreign races, elves, goblins, and various other people of foreign races. Even though they were an army of different races, they had solemn expressions at this moment. Their eyes were filled with cold, killing intent and obvious fanaticism as they looked down at the Crimson Fire domain. In front of them, Zhou, original sin, and the true god of demon hunting, Geralt, the heavenly dragon god, Kika, sword emperor Fuyo, Lu Yen, the god of abyssal knights, Bai He, all had a total of 5 true god-tier combatants standing at the forefront of the army. At this moment, Zhou had already used the law skill King, and his strength had increased to the intermediate grade true god tier. Furthermore, with the addition of the heavenly dragon god, Kika, he felt that his current intermediate grade true god tier strength had increased significantly. At this moment, the legendary tier Heavenly Note Master's solemn voice resounded in the world. Mage Heavenly Note was a learner of soundwave magic, and was best at using sound magic. To him, transmitting sound and expanding his voice was his specialty. Coupled with the help of a sound wave divine artifact, it was enough for this legendary tier sound wave mage's voice to spread throughout most of the Crimson Fire domain. Anyone who kills our people, who is unwilling to surrender, and resists violently, will be killed. The babies of the Fire Cry race are innocent. I advise all members of the Fire Cry race to surrender early, and avoid the pain of being exterminated. Leave some race flames for the Fire Cry race. The ancestral fire holy capital in the Fire Cry race's holy land. At that moment, hundreds of millions of Fire Cry race members raised their heads and listened to Wizard Tyanyan's voice. They looked at each other in fear after listening. What should we do? Should we fight the humans? How do we fight? This common people's regal could even easily force back the previous obstruction operation, causing us to lose a lot of strength. Now the other party's military strength is more than 10 times ours. How can we fight? Even though the other party has a lot of soldiers, and their average strength is higher than ours, other than soldiers, we still have more than 8 trillion Fire Cry race members. With less than 100 billion soldiers, will they really dare to attack? Silly, didn't you see those 5 true god tiers? A full-powered strike from a true god tier can wipe out an entire world's life forms. What's the big deal about exterminating our entire race? Where's our true god tier, Your Excellency? The Fire Cry race members discussed in fear. They had never expected that the other party would really dare to send troops to exterminate the races, after sending a letter of surrender to the various races. Moreover, the first race to be exterminated was their Fire Cry race. At this moment, the 5 tallest and most majestic extinct volcanoes in the Crimson Fire domain suddenly erupted with scorching lava. The lava spewed out at a height of at least hundreds of thousands of meters. Following that, 5 streams of flames shot into the sky from the mouth of the volcano, heading straight for the blazing Sun Kingdom's army. It's the true god tier of our Fire Cry race. It's old ancestor Rong Yen, old ancestor Sheng Hua, old ancestor Jing Ming, old ancestor Ji Zhuo, and old ancestor Xian Tong. The 5 true god tiers of our Fire Cry race have all been mobilized. The Fire Cry race members cried out in alarm. A few minutes ago, when Patriarch Lu and Bai He sensed the blazing Sun Kingdom's army and saw Zhou won, Bai He asked hesitantly, "Are you a clone of him?" "The person just now was the clone, am not." Zhou smiled and said, "A portion of my will has just entered this body. The battle is about to happen after all. I also want to use this opportunity to sharpen my combat skills." A smile appeared on Bai He and Patriarch Lu's faces upon hearing this. They looked down at the territory of the Fire Cry clan, and the smiles on their faces gradually turned cold. "You didn't expect this day to come, did you?" Patriarch Lu said coldly. Looks like Patriarch Lu has a deep grudge with the Fire Cry race. Zhou smiled. Patriarch Lu nodded and said, "Previously, when Your Excellency Yellow Emperor sealed the Xianyuan tomb, because he was poisoned, the Fire Cry race, and the few people of foreign races, near the other human territories, had been leading an army to our human territories for free. They killed many of our humans, and plundered many of our human resources. At that time, he had to guard the abyss, and couldn't always guard against these people of foreign races. Therefore, during that period of time, I returned from the outside world, and specially came to guard the borders of the human race. During that period of time, I fought many god spirits of the fire cry race. Both sides had victories and defeats, right? The hatred was also formed at that time. Zhou nodded and said with a smile, "Then Your Excellency Lu has a chance to take revenge this time. I'm just a human true god tier, who received a high-tier deity-level divine artifact from you, and was specially invited to help." Patriarch Lu rolled his eyes at Zhou. They wanted to help for free. However, he was afraid that in the next second, the Supreme Will would strike down with a bolt of divine lightning, causing he to die. That would not be worth it. Me too. He shrugged his shoulders. "Zhou, are these your soldiers?" At this moment, the two of them had already discovered Zhou's 80 billion troops, and could not help but exclaim in shock. Zhou nodded reservedly. He and Patriarch Lu looked at each other in shock. "I really don't understand you anymore." Patriarch Lu smiled bitterly. More than 80 billion soldiers. This was already more than 8 times the total military strength of the human race at its peak. Which meant, in terms of military strength, the current Zhou could be said to be comparable to a clan alone. At this moment, 5 bright and dark flames rose in the distance. These flames flew to the same height as them and stopped. The flames dissipated, revealing 5 figures emitting the aura of true god tier. They were the 5 true god tier ancestors of the fire cry race. After they appeared, their gazes immediately landed on Zhou. Then, they also saw the other 4 true god tiers around him. It's the Blazing Sun Kingdom's newly promoted true god, Original Sin and Demon Hunter true god, Gelt, and the heavenly dragon god Kika. There's also Patriarch Lu and Bai He. The two of you actually dare to interfere in the matters between the Blazing Sun Kingdom and our fire cry race? The leader, true god tier Jingming, said in surprise and joy. "What are you happy about? Can't you see that the supreme agreement didn't touch the two of us?" He chuckled, but his eyes were extremely cold. "We were invited here by the common people's regal at a great cost. This doesn't violate the supreme agreement. I was very happy after hearing this deal from the common people's regal." Jingming. Patriarch Lu pulled out his low-level true god tier elementary grade divine artifact, the Mystic Light Heaven Mystic Divine Sword, and pointed it at Jingming and the other 4 fire cry race true gods. "This time, we'll settle our old and new grudges together." He also snorted coldly upon hearing this. He held his true god tier weapon, the Shining Dragon Spear, and took a step forward. The aura on his body poured out like a celestial river. The entire world was filled with his terrifying true god tier aura. Right on the heels of that, Geralt and the heavenly dragon god also released their true god tier auras one after another. At the same time, they revealed the full set of 6 true god tier divine artifacts they were wearing. The 4 true god tiers unleashed their auras, and were fully equipped with true god tier divine artifacts. Instantly, the wind and clouds in the world changed. Countless phantoms of worlds that seemed to contain all living beings appeared and disappeared in the space around them. That was a unique true god tier phenomenon, created by their understanding of the laws, and triggering the energy of heaven and earth. At this point, of the 5 true god tier combatants, only the one who was in the middle relative to Zhou did not move. The 5 true god tier ancestors of the fire cry race sensed the terrifying aura on their bodies, and saw the true god tier divine artifacts they were wearing. Their expressions suddenly changed as they cried out involuntarily, "Where did you get all your true god tier divine artifacts?" There were more than 20 true god tier divine artifacts on these 4 true god tiers. Even 10 Divine Kingdom Lord factions combined might not have so many true god tier divine artifacts. What more a kingdom-level Lord faction? With so many true god tier divine artifacts, the strength of the 4 of them, even if they were only at the true god tier elementary grade, would probably be able to clash with true god tier advanced grade god spirits without true god tier divine artifacts. The 5 fire cry race true god tiers immediately felt the pressure multiply. Zhou did not say anything. So many deity-level divine artifacts were naturally lent to the true gods by him. This was the first time he had engaged in a racial-level war. So he naturally had to do it beautifully and flawlessly. Wait. True god tier Rong Yan, who was the most senior among the 5 ancestors of the fire cry race, said in a low voice. Do you have to go this far? Even though we stopped you humans from retreating to the primordial world previously, common people's regal, you are powerful and forcefully blocked our attack. Strictly speaking, our fire cry race actually didn't cause any substantial losses to you. Our fire cry race had lost a quarter of our extraordinary tier clansmen because of this. How about we call it quits? Our fire cry race also has some foundations of our race. If you really want to attack forcefully, even if we die, we will drag half of your true god tier and troops down with us. Towards the end, his deep voice sounded sharp and resolute. When true god tier Jingming heard this, he touched his chest, and a determined look appeared in his eyes. Everyone looked at Zhou. Zhou sat on the throne and slowly said, I've already said everything. You can either surrender, withdraw from the Crimson Fire domain, or be exterminated. You don't have any other options. If we retreat after what you said, does that mean we will also retreat if other races said the same thing? Then in the future, when other clans attack us and they say these words afterward, should we turn a blind gaze to them? You were the ones who crossed the line first, so there's no room for discussion. You guys make the decision. One last sentence of advice. If you want to leave some kindling for your clansmen, then surrender obediently. Intolerant of all races. I'll only kill the main culprit for their past deeds. As long as the other members of the Fire Cry clan sincerely submit, I can let bygones be bygones. Looks like we cannot avoid this fight. Deity-level Rong Yan said faintly. Chapter 998 Powerful Chaotic Divine Body. True God tier Jingming falls. Rumble, rumble. An earth-shattering sound rang out. 5 towering volcanoes that were 100,000 kilometers tall slowly appeared below the 5 fire cry race true god tiers. As soon as these 5 majestic volcanoes appeared, the surrounding space faintly distorted, as if it wanted to change the world and turn it into another world. It was the true god tier domain of a true god. By he, Patriarch Lu, the heavenly dragon god, and Geralt also unleashed their true god tier domains without hesitation. Abyss Knight True God Tier Domain, Sword Emperor True God Tier Domain, Heavenly Dragon True God Tier Domain, and Original Sin True God Tier Domain. As soon as the 8 True God Tier domains came into contact, the true gods on both sides immediately disappeared from the High Continent together with their True God Tier domains. The High Continent did not allow true God tier existences to fight without restraint. Therefore, they chose to use the independent space characteristics of the true god tier domain to fight in the independent space of the true god tier domain. This way, they wouldn't hurt the higher continent and wouldn't be punished by the supreme agreement. Only Zhou and the intermediate true god Jingming, were left on the battlefield after the rest entered the domain space to fight. True god tier Jingming did not waste his breath. He controlled his intrinsic volcano and activated True God Tier's domain, quickly pulling Zhou into it. In the volcano True God Tier domain, Zhou looked at the world in front of him. There were endless active volcanoes bubbling with black-red magma. As far as he could see, the world was filled with black-red steam and volcanic smoke. Among the many active volcanoes, the most eye-catching was the volcano that was 100,000 kilometers tall in the center. At that moment, the true god tier god spirit Jingming was floating above his intrinsic volcano. He was like a volcano king, giving off a majestic feeling that could not be offended. Zhou looked at him, and his information appeared in his mind. True god tier god spirit Jingming, the fastest god spirit in the history of the fire cry race to attain true god tier. It was said that he had only used 11,000 years to become a true god tier. Then, he used another 20,000 years to break through to the intermediate grade true god tier and surpassed the veteran true god tier. He became the strongest among the 5 true gods of the fire cry race, and naturally became the leader of the Fire Cry race. The Fire Cry race hoped that he could become an advanced grade true god tier, or even a master god tier, so that the Fire Cry race could become a top-notch race with the protection of a master god tier. Even though this hope was extremely slim, it also allowed true god tier Jing Ming to enjoy a large number of racial resources. At this moment, when true god tier Jing Ming saw Zhou Zhou being easily pulled into his true divine world, his heart became even more solemn. However, he didn't waste this opportunity. He stretched out his hand and pointed. A wave of the law of fire rippled out in all directions. True god tier law skill. All Dharma techniques heat and silence. Rumble. Zhou Zhou looked at the ground. The tens of thousands of volcanoes of varying sizes on the ground suddenly began to tremble. Then, spots of blazing white light appeared from these volcanoes. Right on the heels of that, these blazing white spots of light suddenly spewed out of the volcano's mouth. Due to the fact that the volcanoes were too dense, the domain of the true god tier of the volcano, which was originally black and red in color, turned pale white. Heat. Extreme heat. That was Zhou Zhou's first thought. Then the second feeling he felt was silence. The pale white true god tier volcano domain was extremely quiet. Even with Zhou Zhou's powerful sixth senses, he could not hear a single sound. Soon Zhou Zhou realized the reason. This was because everything had been burned and converted into the energy of the fire law. There was naturally no sound without a medium to transmit sound. Zhou Zhou looked at his body and then he smiled. This was because he realized that his divine body wasn't injured at all. At most, it was a little red. As for the true god tier divine artifacts he was wearing, they were naturally not damaged. True god tier divine artifacts were incomparably sturdy, disregarding master god tier, and even stronger experts. Unless one was a true god tier who specialized in the law of destruction, it was very difficult for true god tiers of other laws to destroy true god tier artifacts. At most, they would only cause some damage to the true god tier divine artifacts. Furthermore, such damage able to be repaired. Just like Octavia's true god tier divine artifacts and spirit nurturing stone seed. The chaotic divine body of the chaotic god race is indeed useful. No wonder it's said to be comparable to a defensive divine artifact of the same level. Even if I don't wear defensive true god tier divine artifacts now, my current physical strength should be comparable to an intermediate true god tier grade true god divine artifact. Zhou Zhou sighed inwardly. You're not dead. At this moment shocked cries rang out. His law skill, myriad laws heat silence, had already reached the power of an advanced grade true god's law skill. Even an advanced true god would be injured if they were not careful. Even if the other party was wearing a full set of true god tier divine artifacts, his myriad heat and silence, able to directly cause damage to a true god tier's divine body, through the true god tier divine artifacts. After this common people's regal used the mystic technique, he had only reached the intermediate true god tier grade. How able to he withstand the attack of his strongest law skill? Zhou Zhou did not say anything. He raised his right hand and pushed forward. In the next second, the phantom of his palm rapidly expanded to a star palm that was 50 to 60 million kilometers in size. Unify all techniques and control the stars. Lord Law Skill, Myriad Method Star Palm. True God Tier Jing Ming's expression changed when he saw the Myriad Method Star Palm flying towards him. He actually felt an irresistible feeling from the Myriad Method Star Palm. It was as if a voice was constantly telling he and his thoughts that he able to not resist this palm. Put down your resistance and wait for death. True God Tier Jing Ming shouted, and broke free from this influence. Then, he suddenly reached for his chest, and took out a crystal volcanic rock that emitted a scarlet glow. He gazed upon the scarlet volcanic rock with heartache. Then with a thought, he detonated it, and threw it in the direction of the Myriad Method Star Palm. However, just as he was about to throw it out, a fair and perfect right hand grabbed his lava hand. A magical scene happened. The crystal volcanic rock that was about to self-destruct quickly calmed down after being grabbed by this hand. As if nothing had happened. Tisk, he's actually willing to detonate his race's divine artifact. What a waste. I'll accept it for you. Zhou Zhou, who was positioned in front of True God Tier Jing Ming, said with a chuckle. Then, with the power of his will, he easily severed the divine sense connection between true God tier Jing Ming and this race divine artifact, and threw it into his royal treasury. True God tier Jing Ming's expression changed. A true God tier spatial teleportation law skill? There was also a time reversal law skill, at least at the high tier deity level. The next second, Zhou body vanished on the spot before he able to react. After he disappeared, the myriad method star palm directly struck true God tier Jing Ming's divine body. This strongest genius true God tier in the history of the Fire Cry race perished in his true God tier domain without leaving any last words. Chapter 999 War of Annihilation 1. As the true God tiers of the human race and the Fire Cry race entered the true God tier domain to fight, Bai Yin naturally took on the responsibility of commanding the entire army as the first legion commander of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. He looked down at the soldiers and ordinary members of the Fire Cry race who were looking at him with hatred and hostility. He suddenly felt an uncontrollable anger. Hatred? Hostility? What right did a group of fellows who had previously risked their lives to exterminate their human race have to show us such an expression? The enemy has initiated an attack. B0XO. Calm all troops, listen up. For our king and for eternal peace. Exterminate all the Fire Cry race members who dare to resist violently. Kill. After Bai Yin finished speaking, she was the first to pull out the mid-tier deity level advanced grade divine artifact, the 5 elements annihilation bow, from her back. Then, she fired an arrow at the soldiers of the Fire Cry race. A mid-tier deity level divine arrow shot out explosively. When it flew into the air, it suddenly transformed into a rain of water element arrows that landed directly on the army of the Fire Cry tribe. It covered an area of more than 1,000 square kilometers and wiped out millions of Fire Cry tribe members and soldiers with a single strike. Roar! Nazario, the holy dragon of the abyss, was the first to fly out. Behind him was the dragon god army formed by more than 1,000 pure-blooded dragons. They charged majestically towards the Fire Cry race of the Crimson Fire domain. For our king! Charge! For eternal peace! You bastards who want to exterminate our human race, today will be your doomsday. Did you think of today when you stopped us from retreating to the primordial world yesterday? Destroy these monsters who refuse to surrender. Activate the weapon god array. Activate the small god Sura myriad spirit army formation. The Blazing Sun army and the monster army followed closely behind and attacked the flaming clan soldiers and clan members on the ground. Many of them had determined and fanatical expressions, as if nothing could stop them from completing their goals. The Heavenly Map army did not participate in the battle. Instead, they piloted their own aircraft to patrol the Crimson Fire domain to prevent any members of the Fire Cry race from escaping. On the other side, the light sacred dragon Ingersoll, who was already a legendary tier advanced grade, stood in the sky. He flew in the sky, emitting scorching white divine light all over his body. He stood in the sky like a small sun. All the Fire Cry race who harbored strong malice and killing intent towards the Blazing Sun Kingdom and were unwilling to surrender felt their bodies burning as they wailed in pain. Their performance immediately pointed out the target of the Blazing Sun Kingdom army's offensive. Is this the legendary dragon, the light sacred dragon? Even a legendary dragon can do something that even god spirits might not be able to do. When the gods and spirits saw the light sacred dragon's performance, they were all amazed. He really did not know how powerful this legendary dragon would be once he broke through to the god spirit level. Then, they did not waste time lamenting. They joined the Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers and violent storm spirits of the Blazing Sun Kingdom in this extermination war. At the same time, just as the Empire-level soldiers and god spirits of the Blazing Sun Kingdom began to exert their strength, the clansmen of the Fire Cry race, who were unwilling to surrender, also took out a large amount of their race's inheritance to counterattack the soldiers and god spirits of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. There were more than 500 high-tier deity-level, Heavenly Fire Myriad Spirit Battle Formation, more than 100 high-tier deity-level explosive Fire Cry God Cannons, more than 300 Volcano Divine Puppets that ranged from low-tier to high-tier deity level, various fire-type god spirit level law skills, tens of thousands of fire cry race intrinsic treasures refined from the entire volcano, and more than 700 fire cry race god spirits. The Blazing Sun Kingdom soldiers were overwhelmed by all sorts of methods and experts. Furthermore, due to their home ground advantage, the soldiers of the Fire Cry clan, whose military strength was far inferior to the Blazing Sun Kingdom soldiers, were actually able to withstand the Blazing Sun Kingdom soldiers' attacks for a moment. Still, they only managed to block it for a while. When the god spirits of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were mobilized, and the soldiers summoned more than 1,100 Sura swordsman army spirits, and more than 900 soldier god army spirits, this battle became a one-sided suppression of the soldiers and god spirits of the Fire Cry race by the Blazing Sun Kingdom. These 1,100 Sura swordsman army spirits and 900 soldier god army spirits were the results of the Blazing Sun Kingdom's generals who knew military formations. They had been teaching the new generals to master these two god-tier military formations day and night in the time world. Even though summoning them required the cooperation of a large number of high-level mist corps and high-level soldiers, they were nothing compared to the god spirit level combat power that could be summoned. On the other side, when the Fire Cry race members saw their soldiers and god spirits being crushed and slaughtered by the army of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, they were instantly enraged. They roared and rushed towards the Blazing Sun Kingdom soldiers who had landed on the ground. They picked up the magma on the ground, rubbed it into a ball, and threw it at them. Hundreds of millions of magma balls shot towards the soldiers of the Fiery Sun Empire, like a meteor shower. However, the soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom didn't panic at all seeing this scene. The lava balls landed on their special Akublu armor. The layer of Akublu armor only had a flash of water vapor on the surface before easily blocking the lava balls. They could not even raise the temperature on the surface of their armor. They could only watch as the lava evaporated the heat inside and turned into volcanic lava rocks that fell to the black-red ground. Thick spatial power erupted, forming a spatial passageway with endless suction behind it, directly sucking it into the spatial rift. A lesser god-level Yellow Talisman Dao soldier, who led a portion of the Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers, smiled. As an Empire-level soldier type, the Yellow Talisman Dao soldier had learned about the ethnicity of the Fire Cry clan long before the war began, and had assigned them a set of tactics that specifically targeted their weaknesses. This was the Water Dao protection strategy, where the Golden Talisman Path warriors could easily block the lava attacks of the non-extraordinary tier Flaming clan by engraving a green bronze tier water protection yellow talisman on themselves. Moreover, since the grade of this talisman was very low, casting this green bronze tier yellow talisman spell would not increase one's energy consumption. One could also casually replenish the runes for oneself and his comrades at any time, allowing this protective talisman rune to always exist and defend against the attacks of these ordinary Fire Cry race members. Kill. Exterminate these Fire Cry race who want to eradicate our human race. The Flaming clan will be exterminated today after breaking through the ancestral fire sacred capital. After the Golden Talisman Path warriors blocked the attacks of these Fire Cry clansmen's magma balls, they rushed into these Fire Cry clansmen like wolves entering a flock of sheep, and began to kill without restraint. They did not hold back at all, unleashing all the killing intent and animosity in their hearts. How could these Fire Cry clansmen, who didn't even have extraordinary tier profession, be a match for these Empire-level soldier types, who could fight tens of thousands of people alone? Therefore, after a while, these Fire Cry clansmen, who rushed over bravely, were killed by the Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers. Chapter 1000 War of Annihilation 2. As the saying went, one would feel for one's race. Even though the soldiers under Zhou-Zhou's command could not understand the true meaning of eternal peace conveyed by His Majesty, almost everyone could sense the confusion and fear in their hearts after the two human empires were turned into nomological death zones by the true god tiers of the people of foreign races. This was a true human tragedy. As for the people of foreign races and the true god tier existences behind them, they could not deal with them for the time being. However, The human soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom could naturally be ruthless enough to kill these accomplices who wanted to destroy the human race. No, they were even afraid that they had not killed enough. B0XO. Calm otherwise, it would not be able to alleviate the suffocation and oppression in their hearts. They would even feel sorry for the innocent humans who had died in the Great Xia Empire and the Heavenly Barbarian Empire. Not far away, a member of the Fire Cry clan who had his magma limbs cut off looked at the yellow talisman blade that was about to land on his head. He endured the pain and begged loudly, "I surrender. I am willing to become a citizen of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Don't kill me. Don't kill me." Jiang Chun, the yellow gold tier advanced grade yellow talisman Dao soldier in front of it, smiled sinisterly when he heard this. His blood-red eyes that were intertwined with runes revealed a terrifying and deep coldness. "It's too late. You should have thought of your ending when you threw the magma ball at us just now." He cut the body of the Fire Clan member in half with his saber. The Fire Clan member, who was cut in half, screamed and turned into two pools of hot magma. Jiang Chun looked at the magma body structure that was completely different from that of humans. His heart did not fluctuate at all. In fact, it was not as fluctuating as the daily killing of chickens and cooking for him. He looked into the distance. More and more members of the Fire Cry race rushed toward them. 1 billion, 10 billion, 100 billion, a trillion, or even more. Jiang Chun didn't know. It just felt endless at a glance. "Kill." Jiang Chun smiled sinisterly. He held the huge yellow talisman saber and charged towards these Fire Cry race members. Without extraordinary tier power, no matter how many Fire Cry clansmen there were, they could not stop the killing of the yellow talisman Dao soldiers. Every second, hundreds of millions of Fire Cry clansmen were killed by tens of billions of yellow talisman Dao soldiers. At the same time, more than 30 billion soldiers of the violent storm spirit also cast storm spells in the sky to attack these Fire Cry clansmen. Above the violent storm spirit, 100,000 legendary tier dimensional cannons were fired at the same time. These spatial attribute spatial rift dimensional cannons had a huge range, and each shell could cover an area of 100 miles. Every round of 100,000 spatial rift dimensional cannons fired at the same time. Even if the range of the cannons overlapped, they could still cover an area of 1,000,000 square kilometers and kill billions of Fire Cry race beings. In less than a moment, nearly 100 billion Fire Cry race members died under the bombardment of the spatial rift dimensional cannon and the range of the violent storm spirit spells. The god spirits of the Fire Cry race could not help but fly into a rage. At this moment, they were also under the suppression of the god spirits and god-tier armies of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Not to mention helping the Fire Criers, even protecting themselves was a problem. Speaking of which, in the volcano True God-tier domain, with the death of True God-tier Jingming, the entire volcano True God-tier domain immediately collapsed. Soon, the True God-tier domain disappeared, allowing Zhou to see the outside world. When he saw he had the upper hand even though the Fire Cry race was powerful, he nodded slightly. This spectacle wasn't out of his expectations. If the Fire Cry race wanted to defeat them now, unless they used numbers to forcefully exhaust them, there was basically no possibility of victory. However, using quantity to win? Did he think that he didn't exist? He pulled out his universe-destroying blade, mobilized the True God-tier intermediate-grade chaotic sacred power in his body, and casually slashed at the endless sea of Fire Cry race members. The next second, a majestic saber chi that was 50,000 to 60,000 kilometers long brazenly erupted and landed among the densely packed Fire Cry race members in the blink of an eye. Rumble! Earth collapse shook the heavens and earth. Under this black-red lava land, a terrifying canyon more than 60,000 kilometers long and more than 100,000 kilometers deep appeared. Hot underground magma erupted from the ground, making this area look like a magma hell. Under Zhou's casual saber attack, at least 30 to 40 gazillion members of the Fire Cry race were annihilated. There was even a mid-tier deity-level elementary grade god spirit of the Fire Cry race, who was killed by the law of extermination, just because he brushed past the saber energy. Zhou began to swing his saber casually. Every slash could kill tens of billions of Fire Cry race members. After he swung 16 times, the ground in the Crimson Fire domain dropped by more than 200,000 kilometers. Not only did not a single member of the Fire Cry race survive here, but it had also turned this place into a nomological death zone. For the next 100,000 years, this place would not be suitable for life forms to live in. And with his 16 strikes, he had killed nearly 1 trillion members of the Fire Cry race. When Zhou saw his results, he could not help but be secretly shocked. This was the first time he had used such a level of power in real life against people of foreign races, who hadn't grasped supernatural powers, since he had grasped the combat power of a true god tier. He didn't expect the lethality to be so ridiculous. Not only had he killed nearly 1 trillion ordinary Fire Cry race members, but he had also caused such terrifying damage to the ground. Even though the other party's positioning was too dense, which was also one of the important reasons why he could cause such lethality, it could be seen how terrifying the true god tier combat power was. Most importantly, he did not even use his most potent law skill. If he used his myriad method star palm, he would probably be able to kill trillions of ordinary Fire Cry race members with a single palm strike. No wonder the Supreme Will did not allow true god tier existences and stronger experts to fight fearlessly in the High Continent. If these super powerhouses were allowed to fight freely on the Supreme Continent, the Supreme Continent would probably be destroyed by true god tier and even stronger god spirits in less than 1,000 years. He looked at the situation on the battlefield in front of him. He perceived that after his 16 slashes, the Fire Cry race's side had been completely stunned. Their morale had almost fallen to a freezing point. When they came back to their senses from the terrifying spectacle in front of them, a large number of Fire Cry race began to surrender. This terrifying spectacle really made them lose the courage to continue resisting. After seeing His Majesty's great spending, morale soared on the Blazing Sun Kingdom's side. Wielding their weapons, they rushed fearlessly and fervently at the Flaming Clan members and soldiers, who were still resisting. As for the people of foreign races who surrendered, they followed the letter of capitulate set by His Majesty, and did not kill them. The die is cast. Zhou thought to himself when he saw this. True god tier. It was indeed a superpower that could influence the war between races. He had personally experienced it. Then, he closed his eyes and began to sense the location of the true god tier domain that the Yellow Emperor and company were in. Chapter 1001 The Race Divine Artifact of the Fire Cry Race. Fire Cry Origin Core. Zhou suddenly opened his eyes. Found it, he said calmly before taking a step forward. The next second he vanished. True God Rong Yan's domain intersected with the Sword Emperor's domain. Two terrifying true god tier existences were fighting. One of them was a black-red lava giant that was more than 100,000 kilometers tall. It stood on the ground and held 2 lava hammers that were 50,000 to 60,000 meters long. It kept waving them in an attempt to hit Sword Emperor Fuyo, Lu Yen, who was flying around him. Die Lu Yen! True God Rong Yin roared. It suddenly opened its mouth and spat out a stream of black-red lava that shot at Lu Yin, seeing that it could not hit the slippery sword immortal. Lu Yin controlled the mystic light heavenly magic sword to quickly fly into the distance, planning to avoid this shocking magma attack. However, no matter how fast he flew, the magma attack would always chase after him. When Lu Yin saw this, he immediately changed his strategy and snorted coldly. Then he suddenly turned around and slashed out 18 chaotic sword chi with the mystic light, heavenly mystic sword in his hand. The 18 chaotic sword energies flew into the air and quickly transformed into 18 majestic chaos divine dragons. They roared and charged at the magma pillar, quickly colliding with it. Boom! As soon as the two came into contact, a powerful explosion occurred. A seemingly substantial shock wave instantly fluctuated in all directions. But then, the 18 Chaos Divine Dragons actually withstood the impact of the magma pillar and rushed towards the head of the true god Rong Yan. Flames flashed across true god Rong Yan's eyes. Ah! Law skill, Earth Core True Fire. He roared. and the magma pillar that he spewed out of his mouth suddenly emitted brilliant flames. Its power suddenly increased by several times. The 18 Chaos Divine Dragons paused for a moment. Then, one of them suddenly shattered, leaving only 17 Chaos Divine Dragons. Right on the heels of that, the second Chaos Divine Dragon shattered. The third Chaos Divine Dragon shattered. The fourth Chaos Divine Dragon shattered soon. 8 Chaos Divine Dragons shattered one after another. However, the interval between each Chaos Divine Dragon's collapse was longer. After the 8th Chaos Divine Dragon collapsed, no new Chaos Divine Dragon continued to collapse. In the blink of an eye, Liu Yan had used the divine artifact below the true god tier, the Mystic Light Heavenly Mystic Sword, to release the Chaos Divine Dragon's attack. However, only half of it was left under the other party's counterattack. However, even this half of the Chaos Divine Dragon was still resisting the true god tier Rong Yan's Earth Core True Fire Lava Pillar. It was just that it could not continue to break through. A sword light flashed in Liu Yan's eyes. He held the Mystic Light Heavenly Sword and transformed into a chaotic sword beam that rushed into the 8 Chaos Divine Dragons. Then, he led the 8 Chaos Divine Dragons and broke through the lava pillar of the true god Rong Yan. Finally, he pierced through the other party's head and appeared behind him. True god Rong Yan froze on the spot. Beams of chaotic light appeared under his body. In the next second, billions of chaotic sword beams shot out from beneath his body. They actually tore the true god Rong Yan's divine body into pieces. He fell back powerlessly. The last thing he saw before he died was Zhou holding true god Tier's head in the distance and quietly watching the battle from afar. Jingming. I can't accept this. This was the last thought that flashed through his mind before he lost all signs of life. In the sky, Patriarch Lu looked at the fallen true god Rong Yan in a daze. He killed a true god tier on the same level as me just like that. He muttered. Ever since he became a true god tier, he had only done this less than 3 times. One of them was when he saved Bai He with the Yellow Emperor. And this was the first time he had dealt with a powerful true god tier so cleanly and without suffering any injuries. He looked at the Mystic Light Divine Sword in his hand and gently stroked the other true god tier divine artifacts on his body. A smile appeared on his face. What an awesome true god tier divine artifacts! Patriarch Lu laughed out loud. Previously, he had 2 true god tier divine artifacts that Zhou had lent him. At that time, his combat strength would be enough to crush him, who did not have a true god tier. He had 6 true god tier divine artifacts, and they were extremely compatible with him. Even though the current him was only a true god tier elementary grade, he was confident that he could defeat or even kill an intermediate true god tier powerhouse. He also had the guts to fight true god tier advanced grade experts. This was the confidence that the 6 true god tier divine artifacts gave him. At that moment, he suddenly sensed something. He turned his head and saw Zhou and true god tier's head in his hands. Patriarch Lu's eyes widened slightly. He immediately put away the corpse of the true god tier Rong Yan and quickly soared in front of Zhou. You dealt with true god tier Jingming so quickly? Patriarch Lu asked in surprise. Yes. Zhou lifted true god Jingming's head and commented. This guy is indeed the strongest true god tier of the Fire Cry race. If he continues to grow, he can at least advance to true god tier advanced grade in the future. It's not impossible for him to even advance to the master god tier level. Unfortunately, he encountered me and was destroyed by my palm. Zhou said regretfully. His original intention was to try to use words to incite the other party to incite defection. However, the other party would rather self-destruct his race's divine artifact than surrender. So Zhou had no choice but to deal with him. Oh yes, I also got this from this guy. Zhou took out a crystal volcanic stone from the king's treasure box. Patriarch Lu looked over. Race divine artifact name, Fire Cry Origin Core. Divine artifact rank, Race divine artifact, Race divine artifact ability 1, Source of Fire Cry, the exclusive race divine artifact of the Fire Cry race. It was born in the body of the first life form of the Fire Cry race. It is the ultimate treasure of the Fire Cry race. Implanting it into the heart of any Fire Cry race member can raise the potential of the Fire Cry race to the level of a Master God tier elementary grade. Race Divine Artifact Ability 2, King of Fire Cry. The Fire Cry race, who possesses this race's divine artifact, is publicly recognized as the King of Fire Cry. Race Divine Artifact Description: the race divine artifact of the Fire Cry race. It is also the symbol of the Fire Cry race's king. With it, you will be the indisputable king of the Fire Cry race. Note: this race's divine artifact is exclusive to the Fire Cry race. It is only efficient on the Fire Cry race. Race Divine Artifact. Patriarch Lu was shocked. That's right. This true god Jing Ming still wants to harm me, or escape by self-destructing this race's divine artifact. Unfortunately, not only did I stop it, I also seized this race's divine artifact. Zhou said nonchalantly. Patriarch Lu exhaled with emotion when he heard this. Good God! He forcefully snatched the race divine artifact from the hands of a true god tier intermediate grade expert, and even prevented the other party from self-destructing their race divine artifact. Normally, such a thing could only be done under circumstances where his power was completely overwhelming. Your Excellency, the common people's regal of our human race, has become stronger again. He exhaled inwardly. At the same time, he had a feeling. Maybe before long, the human race would be able to walk out of the primordial world and live openly on the high continent again. Of course, he only thought about it and did not say it out loud. Chapter 1002 True God Shenghua surrenders. Then Patriarch Lu thought of something and said in relief, no wonder the number of true gods in the Fire Cry race has always been so stable. The other races have fluctuated, but their number of true gods has never decreased. It turns out that they have a race divine artifact that can steadily provide super experts. Fortunately, you killed true god Jing Ming in time. Otherwise, if he really became a Master God tier, no, even if he only advanced to the true god tier advanced grade, it would still be a huge threat to us humans. Zhou nodded. Other than Emperor Pangu, the other 4 true gods were either true god tier elementary grade or intermediate grade. There was no other expert above the true god tier. Once a second true god tier advanced grade expert appeared in the Fire Cry race, when Imperial Lord Pangu was not around, the human race would really not be able to withstand it. Then, Patriarch Lu took one last look at the Fire Cry origin core before retracting his gaze. The Fire Cry origin core was good, but it could only be used by the Fire Cry clansmen. It had zero effect on the human race. To him, it could only be used as a collection. It had no practical use at all. Zhou smiled when he saw Patriarch Lu's nonchalant expression. He naturally wouldn't say anything about the Chaos Dao sacrificial cauldron, so he threw it into his king's treasure box. Let's go and support the other true gods, Zhou asked. Sure. Patriarch Lu happily agreed, and then searched for the location of the battle between the other true gods. Soon, he found the true god tier domain, where the heavenly dragon god Kika and true god Xiantong were fighting. After the two of them entered, they quickly discovered that this true god Xiantong was being toyed with by Kika using spatial methods. After being toyed with 2 or 3 times, true god Xiantong was so angry that he wanted to retaliate. However, he realized that he was like a clumsy burly man and could not touch Kika at all. I hate spatial true gods, true god Xiantong roared. Your new true Bodis combat methods are a little experienced. Patriarch Lu said in surprise. Even if true god tiers who cultivated the law of space were good at dodging attacks, they shouldn't be able to deal with enemies of the same level so easily. When Zhou heard this, he roughly explained the origins of Kika to Patriarch Lu. Anyway, there was nothing to hide. After hearing this, Patriarch Lu looked at Zhou enviously and said sourly, "You're too lucky. You can even pick up a true god tier pet from an advanced kingdom." He, Sword Emperor Fuyo, had once traveled the myriad worlds and obtained many opportunities. He could be said to be the most knowledgeable true god in the human race. Even so, he had never encountered something as ridiculous as picking up a dragon true god tier pet egg on his trip. It was all good luck, only good luck. Zhou waved his hand. Then the two of them didn't waste any time, and immediately went to reinforce the heavenly dragon god, Kika. Under the joint attack of the three true gods, this true god Xiantong quickly died with a final roar. Right on the heels of that, the three true gods went to rescue Geralt, who was fighting with true god Jihua. After joining forces to kill true god Jihua, the four of them came to the front of true god Jihua, who was fighting with Bai He. When true god Shenghua saw Zhou and company appear in front of him, he immediately said with an ugly expression, "Where are true god Jingming and company? Of course he's dead. And what do you think this is?" Zhou said indifferently. Then, with a wave of his right hand, the huge corpses of the true gods of the Fire Cry race, Jingming, Rongyan Xiantong and Jihua, appeared in front of him. Then, he took out the Fire Cry origin core and weighed it in his hand. He looked at the last true god of the Fire Cry race with a faint smile. "I'm willing to surrender. Can you spare my life?" After a moment of silence, true god Shenghua stared at the Fire Cry origin core in Zhou's hand and took a deep breath. "Surrender?" Zhou and the other true gods were stunned. When the first four true gods of the Fire Cry race faced their joint attack, they had never said anything like surrendering. Moreover, their resistance was extremely strong, and they had no intention of surrendering at all. Why did true god Shenghua yield so easily? Zhou did not think too much about it, and directly asked the other party this question. "I don't have a sense of belonging to the Fire Cry race to begin with. Can't this be a reason to surrender?" True god Shenghua said frankly. "Back then, I wasn't from the Fire Cry race that was born here in the Crimson Fire domain. Instead, I was from a Fire Cry race that was born in a great sage volcano in the outside world. I'm extremely talented. I only used 15,000 years to become a true god. Later on, when I met the Crimson Fire domain, the Fire Cry race invited me to enter them and become one of their ancestors. I saw that they were sincere. Later on, they promised me that once I broke through to the true god tier intermediate grade in the future, they would let me be the leader of the Fire Cry race. In addition, this was indeed the origin of the Fire Cry race, so I promised them that I would join the Blazing Sun clan and protect them until now." "Who knew?" True god Shenghua gritted his teeth and said. "Ever since true god Jingming rose to prominence, these old farts of the Fire Cry race have forgotten about me in the blink of an eye." These fellows had already treated true god Jingming as their future clan leader before he progressed to true god tier intermediate grade. After he became a true god tier intermediate grade powerhouse, they pushed him to the position of clan leader the following year. As for my opinions and thoughts, they didn't even ask. I'm an outsider in their eyes after all, true god Shenghua said with a bitter smile. Patriarch Lu and the others looked at each other. In the end, Zhou said, "It's fine if you want to surrender. Apply to enter the Blazing Sun Kingdom and become this king's subject now." "Okay." True god Shenghua nodded. Then, he took a deep breath and said, "I, Shenghua Tubas Anlai, true god of volcano and sacred fire, request to enter the Blazing Sun Kingdom and become a subject of the common people's regal." As soon as he finished speaking, the unwillingness and shame in the depths of his eyes quietly dissipated, replaced by loyalty and fanaticism. Peaceful Time's strength was still stable. "From now on, you will be my subject and the true god of the Blazing Sun Kingdom," Zhou uttered with a smile. "Thank you, your majesty," true god Shenghua uttered respectfully. Zhou smiled and nodded. From then on, he had another true god under him. His Blazing Sun Kingdom already had 3 true god tier experts. Coupled with his special true god tier combat power, there were a total of 4 true god tier experts. If Elizariel, who had spent countless years pursuing the Elven Empire to advance to the Divine Kingdom, heard this, she would probably die of envy. Congratulations! Congratulations to the Blazing Sun Kingdom for having another true god tier expert. Another colleague, haha. The divine beings of the human race did not expect that the Blazing Sun Kingdom would have another true god tier expert in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, it seemed that this true god tier expert was about to advance to true god tier intermediate grade. When they came back to their senses, Bai He and Patriarch Lu were both happy and envious. Zhou smiled. Chapter 1003 Gifting Race Divine Artifacts. Fanatic Believers, True God Shenghua. At this moment, True God Shenghua flew in front of the true gods. When the other true gods saw him coming over, even though they did not seem to reject him on the surface, they were still a little wary. Only Zhou looked at True God Shenghua with a smile. He didn't seem to be wary at all. Greetings, Your Majesty. Greetings, true gods. True God Shenghua respected Zhou from the bottom of his heart, but he was very humble to the other true gods. Welcome, True God Shenghua, to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. We can communicate more in the future. The true god Tier smiled and nodded. True God Shenghua replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. True God Shenghua, Zhou said. Let's watch this genocide with me and the other gods. Yes, Your Majesty. True God Shenghua nodded respectfully. Then he walked behind Zhou and looked down at the battlefield with a calm expression. True God Shenghua, don't you want to plead for your clansmen? Zhou suddenly said after watching for a while. I'm a surrendered subject of the sinful country. I dare not make any more requests. True God Shenghua said respectfully. Zhou nodded slightly and said, Don't worry. Even though I have ordered the extermination of your clan, I will still leave behind the Fire Cry race members, who are willing to surrender, and continue living in the Crimson Fire domain. It's just that their name is no longer the Fire Cry race, but the Fire Cry human race. True God Shenghua fell silent. The history of the Fire Cry race was broken with this one sentence. From then on, the Fire Cry race disappeared, and the Fire Cry human race became a branch race of the human race. However, it was better to have their spine broken than to lose their life. Becoming a branch race was better than not existing in the forest of thousands of races. At this moment, Zhou did another shocking thing. After I completely take down the territory of the Fire Cry race, this area and the Fire Cry race will be handed over to you to manage. After he finished speaking, he extended his right hand, and the Fire Cry origin core appeared in his hand. He looked at the Fire Cry origin core, and threw it at True God Shenghua without hesitation. This action immediately stunned the gods. Even True God Shenghua was taken aback. He hurriedly caught the divine artifact, and looked at Zhou in bewilderment. I'll leave this race divine artifact, Fire Cry origin core to you. This will also make it easier for you to rule the Crimson Fire domain's Fire Cry human race. Zhou asked. Your Majesty, this is a race divine artifact? Are you really willing to give it to me? True God Shenghua said excitedly after regaining his senses. This was a race divine artifact that was even more precious than true God tier divine artifacts. He naturally knew the effects of this race's divine artifact, especially since he was once the candidate for the patriarch of the Fire Cry race. With it there was still a glimmer of hope for it to advance to the true God tier advanced grade, or even the Master God tier level, and become a super expert that could suppress a race. Moreover, this race divine artifact could allow him to become the king of the Fire Cry clan that he had always been looking forward to. Moreover, it was undoubtedly the king of the Fire Cry clan. His Majesty could be said to have given him what he wanted the most. How could he not be excited? There you go. Perform well in the future. Remember, if I can give it to you, I can naturally take it back easily. Zhou said calmly. It was just a racial divine artifact that was not very useful. Wasn't it just the ability to bestow a life form Master God tier elementary grade potential, and the ability to become the king of the Fire Cry race? It wasn't like his territory didn't have talents with Master God tier potential. As for the effect of becoming the king of the Fire Cry race, Zhou, who had the Lord talent of the peaceful times, looked down on it even more. In addition, the Chaos Dao sacrificial cauldron only had 5 times left to transform the people of foreign races into divine artifacts. Zhou did not want to use the precious transformation times on this useless divine artifact. Since that was the case, why not hand it over to True God Shenghua? In any case, the other party was already affected by his Lord talent. It was almost impossible for him to betray him in the future. If he wanted to get it back in the future, he could just get it back. I will not let you down, Your Majesty. True God Shenghua excitedly performed the highest etiquette of the fire cry race to Zhou, expressing his supreme reverence for Zhou. The next second, a text notification appeared in front of Zhou. The loyalty of your subjects' sacred fire Tubas Anlai, true god tier of the volcano and sacred fire, has been raised to 100. He has become your fanatic believer. Zhou was stunned. He became a fanatic believer so quickly. He looked thoughtfully at true god Shenghua, who held the fire cry origin core in his hand, as if he had obtained a treasure. It seemed like this newly joined true god Shenghua had a strong obsession with this race divine artifact. Otherwise, with the true god tier's willpower, even if he hadn't reached the will-like light realm, he wouldn't have become another god spirit's fanatic believer so easily. His act of gifting the other party's race divine artifact must have touched the depths of the other party's heart to achieve such an effect. Your Majesty, with this fire cry origin core, I'm confident that all the fire cry race, no, all the fire cry human race will surrender and become your subject, Your Majesty. Actually, the fire cry race lost the name of their race and became a vassal of your race, Your Majesty. In the eyes of the outside world, this situation is equivalent to the extermination of their race. These living fire cry human race should be of greater use to His Majesty. True God Shenghua suddenly said seriously. Then go and try. Zhou raised his eyebrows. After some thought, he decided to let the other party give it a try. He originally did not plan to slaughter all of the fire cry race. The suggestions provided by the other party not only showed that he and the human race were not to be trifled with, it also added a large number of subjects to his kingdom. It was beneficial but harmless. Why not give it a try? Yes, Your Majesty. True God Shenghua nodded solemnly. Then, with the fire cry origin core in hand, he forcefully stuffed this racial divine artifact into his heart. Immediately after, his divine body suddenly shook as wisps of fire appeared on his body. Soon after, a bright red ancient volcano mark slowly appeared on his forehead. Everyone could feel it. True God Shenghua didn't seem to have changed much on the surface, but his aura seemed to have undergone an extremely deep transformation. This made him look also more extraordinary. Zhou had only seen such a feeling on Xiao Xian, Nazario, Geralt, Tathagata, and the others. They were all possessors of Master God tier potential without exception. The other true God tiers couldn't help but look at him in surprise and envy. Especially Patriarch Lu and Baihe. This was a future Master God tier seed. There were only a few humans with the potential of a Master God tier, looking at the entire human race. The most famous among them was naturally their Imperial Lord Pangu. With the help of Zhou, the common people's regal who had created countless miracles, it was very likely that he would reach the same level of strength as Imperial Lord Pangu in the future. A moment later, true deity Shenghua had just woken up from the deep transformation of his divine body that the fire cry origin core had given him. Is this what Jingming felt like? No wonder he broke through to true god tier intermediate grade in such a short period of time. I, Shenghua, can do it too now. True deity Shenghua was extremely excited. However, he naturally didn't forget what he had to do. He bowed respectfully to Zhou and said, "I'll be back soon." Then, he flew straight in favor of the ancestral fire holy capital. It seems like this true deity Shenghua still has some feelings in favor of his clansmen. Of course, I can't rule out the possibility that he wants to manage more fire cry human race in the future. Haha, that's human nature. Baihe and the others discussed via voice transmission. True deity Shenghua's act of protecting his clansmen wasn't that repulsive. In any case, he had already become a member of the fire cry human race. In the future, he could be considered one of them. Even though Zhou heard their conversation, he performed not interrupt, and only watched the scene quietly. Chapter 1000, For the Might of the Race's Divine Artifact. Welcome the Holy Army to the Holy Capital. The ancestral Fire Holy Capital was the clan capital of the Fire Cry race. It was also the supreme holy land of the Fire Cry race. Legendary Tier's first Fire Cry race member, Lao, was born in the ancestral volcano, under the ground of the ancestral fire holy capital. At this moment, this ancestral fire holy had already been surrounded by the soldiers of the 4 great armies of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. No matter how many soldiers and residents emerged from the ancestral fire holy capital, they were still unable to stop the advance of the soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom in the face of the absolute difference in strength. The soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were getting closer and closer to the holy capital. Many Fire Cry race god spirits, heroes, soldiers, and ordinary Fire Cry race members began to collapse. Is our Fire Cry race really going to be exterminated today? Why are 800 trillion members of the Fire Cry clan no different from ants in front of that true god tier? We can't block it. Not at all. The difference is too great. The Fire Cry race was in despair. As for the descendant of the ancestral Fire King, Lao Yi, who was guarding the ancestral fire holy capital, he was also sitting on the throne and looking at his ministers in despair. Everyone, 4 of our 5 ancestors have already extinguished their vital flames. Only the vital flames of ancestor Sheng Hua is still struggling to hold on, but they shouldn't be able to hold on for long. Ministers, do you still have a way to save the clan? The future of extermination is right in front of us. We can't just do nothing. He sought a way to escape from the ministers he relied on. However, these ministers looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Your Majesty, the difference in strength between us is too great. If we're given a little more time to reach an alliance agreement with the other races that have been persuaded to surrender, we can still fight with that common people's regal. At that time, we should be able to protect our Fire Cry race. But the other party came too quickly. The diplomats of the Blood Moon clan haven't even left the holy capital with our alliance agreement, and are already stuck here. There's nothing we can do now, a Fire Cry race official said with difficulty. That's right. Where's the Blood Moon clan's diplomatic envoy? Quickly summon it over, and ask the Blood Moon clan if they have any solutions. The ancestral Fire King Lao Yi seemed to have found a life-saving straw when he heard this and hurriedly called out, Your Excellency the Ancestral Fire King. A beautiful Blood Moon clan member, who looked like a fox or a wolf with a blood-colored full moon between her eyebrows and smooth silver hair all over her body, walked into the hall. He stopped in his tracks and said respectfully, I've already sent a request for help to the outside world, but the Blazing Sun Kingdom seems to have set up an isolation barrier to prevent communication. My news can't be sent out at all. I also used other methods to send messages, including sending my subordinates to deliver letters, but without exception, they all failed. According to my subordinates, as soon as they were 100,000 kilometers away from the ancestral fire holy capital, they were affected by an invisible restriction. They couldn't move quickly or use spatial methods to leave. This method reminds me of something. It's said that the common people's regal has a true god imprisonment divine artifact called the demonic abyss spiderweb. Once spread out, everything within a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers will be imprisoned. God spirits will not be able to resist at all. Even true gods will be affected. We should be imprisoned in the Crimson Fire domain by the demonic abyss spiderweb now. In the current situation, unless a true god tier intermediate grade or stronger existence appears and breaks the restraints of the demonic abyss spiderweb, it will be very difficult to resolve the current predicament. The Blood Moon diplomatic envoy, Lang Yin, said. The ministers and the ancestral Fire King felt even more despair when they heard this. A true god tier divine artifact for imprisonment? And one had to be at true god tier intermediate grade or above to crack them. The vital fire of their true god tier ancestor, true god Jingming, had long been extinguished. Only a true god Sheng Hua, who was of true god tier elementary grade, was still alive. Even if this ancestor Sheng Hua was lucky enough to come back alive, there was no way to save them. Thick spatial power erupted, forming a spatial passageway with endless suction behind it, directly sucking it into the spatial rift. Lang Yin said bold words with a calm expression. Your Majesty, the common people's regal's extermination is already unstoppable. If your Majesty still wants to preserve the last bit of dignity of the Fire Cry race, it's better to commit suicide now, so that you won't fall into the hands of that common people's regal and be bullied by him. Lang Yin said bold words with a calm expression. Your Majesty, the common people's regal's extermination is already unstoppable. If your Majesty still wants to preserve the last bit of dignity of the Fire Cry race, it's better to commit suicide now, so that you won't fall into the hands of that common people's regal and be bullied by he. When the time comes, don't say that the common people's regal wants to destroy your clan. Our alliance won't let you off either. Some of the upper echelons of the races in our alliance know that the Fire Cry race has some small race bases outside the Crimson Fire domain. If you commit suicide now, the Fire Cry race will still be able to protect the Fire Cry race members outside the Crimson Fire domain. You don't want the race left behind by your ancestors to really be wiped out, do you? Lang Yin smiled. I. The magma on the ancestral Fire King's body became unstable. Even though he was the ancestral Fire King, he had only been pushed to this position because of his bloodline. He did not have any ability or courage to speak of. Even his position as a low-tier deity-level elementary grade god was forcefully accumulated by the true god ancestors after spending a lot of resources. It was also because of this that he, the ancestral Fire King, actually didn't have much real power. The symbolism was greater than the actual meaning. He immediately panicked, faced with the danger to his life, race, and ancestors' reputation. What should I do? Do I really have to kill myself? But I don't want to die. The ancestral Fire King felt that his mind was in a mess. At this moment, a familiar voice resounded in the world. All the members of the Fire Cry race heard this voice. My citizens of the Fire Cry race, I am True God Xinghua Tuba Zanlai. Raise your heads and look at me. True God Xinghua? It's the ancestor True God Xinghua. Ancestor True God Xinghua is not dead. This voice seemed to have a magical power. All the Fire Cry clansmen who heard True God Xinghua's words revealed infatuated expressions. They looked up and saw the majestic and amiable figure in the sky. The throbbing of their blood made them instantly feel that the other party was the most important relative in their lives. Right at this moment, True God Xinghua spoke again. From today onwards, I, True God Xinghua, will become the main branch of the Lao and become the current Fire Cry race. You can call me the Master of the Sacred Fire. Greetings, Master of the Sacred Fire. Hundreds of Fire Cry race members shouted in unison without hesitation. When True God Xinghua heard their voices and saw this scene, his body began to tremble. He had waited for too long for this moment. He appeased his excitement and forced him to calm down. I hereby announce the first Fire Cry Sacred Order. From now on, the Fire Cry race will be renamed the Fire Cry Human Race. It will be a branch of the Blazing Sun Kingdom's human race, and will be ruled by the King of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, common people's regal, Zhou. Those who share the same bloodline as me shall obey this order. This order will never change. I hope our clansmen will remember it. Now, put down your resistance and welcome the Holy Army into the Holy Capital. Splash! At this moment, most of the Fire Cry clansmen put down their weapons and stopped resisting. They took the initiative to open up a path for the Blazing Sun Kingdom soldiers, who had astonished expressions, to enter the ancestral Fire Holy Capital. Welcome to the Holy Capital, they shouted. As for the opinions and actions of the few talented and extraordinary members of the Fire Clan, who could barely maintain their own thoughts, they were no longer important in the face of the general trend of the race. High up in the sky, the Fire Cry race will really become history after today. In its place is the Fire Cry human race of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou smiled, and the other true gods also smiled and nodded. Chapter 1005 Bootlicker. What's going on? Many unaffected members of the Fire Cry race said in shock and anger. I feel like my thoughts and will have been forcefully altered. Another high-tier deity-level member of the Fire Cry clan held his head in pain and struggled to speak. Could that be because of the legendary supreme treasure of our Fire Cry race? It's said that no matter which member of the Fire Cry race obtains the supreme treasure of our race, who can become the king of our Fire Cry race. The current situation seems to only be explained by this legendary tier. Another high-tier deity level said with an ugly expression. At this moment, a high-tier deity level advanced grade fire cry race god spirit spoke. He was called Yinze. He was a true god tier seed publicly acknowledged by the fire cry race. At the same time, he was also the eldest disciple of true god Jihua. At this moment, he looked at true god Shenghua, who was surrounded by the entire race. He suddenly took a deep breath and said, "My teacher once told me about the supreme treasure. If it's really that supreme treasure, be it in name or in reality, he would already be recognized as the king of the fire cry race by our fire cry race. No, he should be the king of the fire cry human race." My fellow clansmen, Yinze looked at the surrounding fire cry race and said, "The enemy is powerful and has killed almost all the true god tiers on our side. Now more than half of the ordinary members of the fire cry race have defected to the enemy. The race foundation that we treat as our trump card is so laughable in front of the absolute difference in strength. The scales of victory have completely tilted towards each other. Yinze really can't see any hope of winning or even surviving now. If that's the case, why don't we stay and surrender together?" As soon as these words were spoken, most of the unaffected fire cry race around him looked at he in shock. A small number of them had flickering expressions, clearly tempted. Yinze was already prepared to be scolded. However, he didn't regret it. As a true god tier seed, he really didn't want to die in a war that was certain death before he became a true god tier. He had yet to experience the power of a true god tier. How could he be willing to die without a name? That would not be worth it. Therefore, he did not hesitate to suggest a way to surrender. In the end, seeing the current situation, it turned out that many of his clansmen did not want to die. He immediately relaxed and began to intensify his efforts to persuade the other clansmen to surrender with him. Hence, more and more of his clansmen were convinced by him, a true god tier seed. Not long after, he convinced more than 30,000 top-notch members of the Fire Cry clan. Then, they bowed respectfully to true god Shenghua and Zhou in the sky. It was not uncommon for the Fire Cry tribe to have a change in attitude like Yinze. To put it simply, he was resigned to his fate. It was the same for everyone after all. It could be tolerated even if this was wrong. Of course, there were also the effects of unwillingness to submit and racial divine artifacts. They still wanted to violently resist the rule of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Zhou's yellow talisman Dao soldiers and violent storm spirit were not for nothing. 3 words. Destroy them all. Zhou fell into deep thought upon seeing this scene. It seemed that racial divine artifacts were not invincible. If they encountered a stronger life form's will power, laws, or other existences, there was still a possibility of them being weakened or even immune. Come on. The Fire Cry race has already been exterminated. Let's go meet our new human branch. Zhou did not think too much about it, and turned to Bai He and the other true gods. The true gods smiled and nodded. Then, they flew towards the ancestral fire holy capital together. True god Shenghua stood in the main hall of the ancestral fire holy capital. His eyes closed as he enjoyed the cheers of the millions of Fire Cry human race cultivators from all directions. The master of the sacred fire is eternal. The Fire Cry human race is eternal. That's what I want. True god Shenghua thought to himself. The position of the Fire Cry race patriarch and the divine artifacts of the Fire Cry race were finally in his hands. Even though it was a little different from the way he had thought of obtaining it previously, that was no longer important. When he thought about everything he had, true god Shenghua felt equal more grateful to his majesty. At this moment, he suddenly sensed something, and immediately looked up into the distance. He saw Zhou and the other true god tiers flying towards he. Welcome, your majesty. True god Shenghua immediately gave up the ancestral fire king's throne behind him, and knelt beside him. Welcome, your majesty, common people's regal. The god spirits who had surrendered also saw the true god tier god spirits of Zhou. They were very discerning, and hurriedly conveyed the news and orders to the Fire Cry human race outside. Welcome, your majesty, common people's regal. Welcome, your majesty, common people's regal. Welcome, your majesty, common people's regal. What kind of scene would it be when hundreds of trillions of Fire Cry human race cheered in unison? At this moment, Zhou and the other true god tier felt as if the sky of the Crimson Fire domain was about to be torn apart by these guys' voices. They disappeared into the sky in a flash. The next second, Zhou and the other true gods instantly appeared in front of true god Xinghua. Get up! You've made a great contribution in this battle. I'll reward you when we get back. Zhou patted true god Xinghua's shoulder with a smile. True god Xinghua was quite interesting. He had specially transformed into a human form as if to cater to him. He looked like a magma man, to which Zhou only had one pondered in his mind. Such a bootlicker. I don't dare to take credit. I'm only borrowing the power of the race's divine artifact. True god Xinghua said respectfully. Zhou smiled and did not say anything. He walked straight to the throne behind him and sat on it. He had the rare appearance of a regal because he had every kinds of temperament enhancements. True god Xinghua and the other true god tiers couldn't help but hold their breaths the moment he sat down. At this moment, a pondered involuntarily appeared in their minds. The image and temperament of the legendary lord of all races were just Esozo, right? It was the same for true gods. What more the ordinary fire cry human race? At this moment, because of true god Xinghua's words, they had automatically become subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Under the combined influence of the Lord Talent of the Peaceful Times and Zhou's own temperament and image, they watched at Zhou as if they were gazing at their own god spirit. I declare in the name of the common people's regal, from now on, the territory of the Crimson Fire Domain's Fire Cry human race is the Blazing Sun Kingdom's territory. The people of the Crimson Fire Domain's Fire Cry human race are the subjects of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, and are also my subjects. Immortal Regal, the glory of our king's ancestral fire will be passed down for eternity. My ruler is the first flame. The first flame is my king. All the members of the Fire Cry race were spirited and fanatical. Chapter 1006 Uriel reappears. Returning to court victorious, true god Xinghua was a little envious of this scene. He touched the racial divine artifact at his heart. It was an effect that he could only create by relying on his race's divine artifact. How could His Majesty achieve it with just 2 or 3 sentences? The effect even felt better than a race's divine artifact. Looking at the fanatical expressions of the Fire Cry human race, he was probably already His Majesty's true believer. They might even become devout believers, or even fanatic believers of His Majesty in no time. So this is the common people's regal? True god Xinghua thought in awe. At the same time, he became even more loyal and fanatical towards Zhou. True god Xinghua. Zhou said. Yes, Your Majesty. Xinghua said respectfully. Summarize the subjects, troops, territories, wealth, divine artifacts, and all other valuable things in the Fire Cry race's territory, and make a list. Then, hand this list to this king. Zhou ordered. This was the first time Zhou had led his subordinates to destroy a racial-level faction. He was looking forward to how rich his spoils of war would be. Yes, Your Majesty. True god Xinghua replied without hesitation. Zhou acknowledged. When Patriarch Lu and Bai He saw this scene, they suddenly looked at each other and could not help but laugh. This trip was really easy. He had only fought with a true god tier and watched such a good show. Then, he had obtained a high-tier deity-level divine artifact and borrowed a full set of true god-tier divine artifacts. They had never seen such a huge deal in their lives. Today was the first time. As expected, he could earn a lot even if he only ate some soup by following Zhou's side. At the same time, Zhou looked at the hundreds of Fire Cry human race members in front of him, who were looking at him respectfully and fanatically. He was very satisfied. The Lord Talent of the Peaceful Times was indeed the more subjects there were, the more shocking the effect. There were hundreds of trillion members of the Fire Cry race. If other lords suddenly obtained so many clansmen, even if they were powerful enough to suppress these newly surrendered Fire Cry human race, they would probably be afraid and not dare to use these new subjects lightly, not to mention using their native true god to manage them. However, Zhou dared. Not only did he dare to interfere, he even planned to give these new Fire Cry human race subjects the same status and treatment as the Blazing Sun Kingdom subjects in the future. Still, giving the fire cry human race subjects the same status and treatment is a little difficult. I'll have to take my time. There are hundreds of trillions of fire cry human race members after all. How many resources do I have to invest to allow these fire cry human race members to have the same status and treatment as the other Blazing Sun Kingdom subjects? However, once I do this, these hundreds of fiery clan members will provide me with at least 200 trillion extraordinary tier professionals. Zhou Zhou thought to himself. Once such a large number of extraordinary tier professionals were realized, Zhou Zhou would even dare to fight head-on with a high-level bloodline race. However, it was destined to be extremely difficult to achieve this. Fortunately, Zhou Zhou had time. Zhou Zhou could afford to wait no matter how long the return period of this investment was before he could reap the benefits. In any case, he was almost invincible on the High Continent. As long as he didn't leave the High Continent, those top-notch bloodline races that hated him to the core wouldn't be able to do anything to him. At this moment, Wu Tu walked over and whispered a few words into his ear. Zhou Zhou's expression remained unchanged as he transmitted a few words to Bai He and Patriarch Lu. Uriel led 10 true God-tier experts from the people of foreign races over. Their target should be you. Retreat first. Even though Patriarch Lu and Bai He did not reveal any strange expressions on their faces, their hearts sank. They had only come out for a short while, but Uriel had already detected them and tracked them down? Was this guy born with a dog's nose? The two of them did not dare to be negligent. Just as they were about to leave, they heard Zhou Zhou send another voice transmission. If you go back now, I'm afraid there will be some danger on the way. I'll give you a ride. Zhou Zhou raised his hand and pointed at them as soon as he finished speaking. Lord Talent, return to the city activated. The next second, Bai He and Zhou Zhou disappeared. The Blazing Sun Kingdom, in front of the Night Temple. Bai He and Patriarch Lu's divine bodies suddenly appeared here. The two of them looked at the door of the Night Temple, and the guards on both sides of the door in a daze. Bai He quickly came back to his senses, and a smile appeared on his face. I didn't expect Zhou Zhou to have such a trick up his sleeve. Let's go, Patriarch Lu. After walking through the door of the Holy Temple, and passing through an ultra-long-distance cross-border teleportation corridor, we can directly return to the primordial world. Patriarch Lu nodded, and walked into the Night Temple with White River. From the beginning to the end, the two guards guarding the door of the Sacred Hall had never realized that the two true God-tier existences had already passed them and walked into the hall. The Ancestral Fire Holy Capital. Zhou Zhou, who was sitting on the Ancestral Fire throne, opened his eyes. He looked up at the sky. True God-tier Uriel and the 10 true God-tier advanced grade people of foreign races standing behind him were standing high in the sky, looking down at him coldly. Your Excellency Uriel, I didn't expect to meet you so soon. What can I do for you? The true God-tier Uriel and the 10 true God-tier advanced grade people of foreign races standing behind were standing high in the sky, looking down at him coldly. Common people's regal, let me ask you. Where is Sword Emperor Fuyo of the human race, Lu Yen, and the god of abyssal knights, Bai He? Uriel asked coldly. You mean those two seniors of the human race? Zhou Zhou gazed enlightened. Then he shook his head and said regretfully, You guys came at the wrong time. Those two just left. You dare to protect a human felon and stay with the human race felon? I suspect that you're colluding with the human race. I want to lock you up and force out the whereabouts of the human race from you. Uriel intimidated Zhou Zhou. He said it very ruthlessly, but he did not take action. A human race felon? May I ask what crimes the human tribe has committed? Zhou Zhou asked curiously. There was once a human who secretly slandered the Titan gods and offended the might of the Titan gods. After the Titan gods heard this news, the sixth elder of our tribe specially instructed me to send troops to attack the human race. He additionally questioned me to ensure that the human race in the High Continent is wiped out, especially those true God-tier humans. Common people's regal, on account of your difficult growth, quickly tell me the location of the human race. Otherwise, you will commit the crime of covering up for him. Your future will be extremely miserable. Uriel said majestically. Zhou did not say anything on the surface, but he was sneering in his heart. What a baseless accusation. Just one slander in the dark, and an entire tribe would be exterminated. Your Excellency, Uriel has misunderstood. How would I dare to cover up for an important criminal that the Titans need? We're just a simple employment relationship. When this relationship ends, they will naturally leave, but it has nothing to do with covering up. If you don't believe me, you can attack and try. Zhou probed. Upon hearing this, Uriel immediately gazed like he had eaten shit. The sky gradually darkened. Uriel and the others left anyway. Uriel and the rest did not dare to take the risk regardless of whether Zhou was telling the truth or not. Zhou chuckled when he saw this. Return to court victorious, he shouted loudly, and then returned to the Blazing Sun Kingdom with all the loots. Chapter 1007 War Summary. At the same time, just as Zhou led the army back to the Blazing Sun Kingdom, the news of the Fire Cry race being exterminated had also spread around. In particular, the advanced races and civilizations all had their own unique and fast communication methods. In addition, they themselves paid a lot of attention to the special lord of all races, the common people's regal, Zhou. Therefore, not long after, all the lords of all races and civilizations in the Supreme Continent and the endless heavens who were paying attention to Zhou found out that Zhou had led an army to exterminate the Fire Cry race. All the factions fell silent after receiving this news. The inside story revealed by this news was so shocking that they almost thought that they had heard wrongly. Nearly 100 billion soldiers, 2,000 God-tier army spirits, hundreds of God spirit-level experts, 5 true God tiers were helping. Was this really the combat power of an advanced Kingdom Lord faction, and not the total combat power of a beginner Divine Kingdom Lord faction? How did this kid develop so quickly? If he continues to develop like this, by the time he leaves the High Continent, he won't already be a Divine Kingdom Lord, right? What's that idiot Uriel doing? Why is he so useless after going to the High Continent for so long? What a piece of trash. The common people's regal is invincible with the Supreme Agreement. We can only wait now. I've already contacted a super expert. When the time comes, as long as common people's regal dares to leave the High Continent, I guarantee that he will never return. The common people's regal is really a huge threat to us. The experts of the various races and factions increasingly felt that Zhou was a huge threat. However, in the face of the Supreme Agreement, they felt helpless against the current Zhou. In the central region of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, in the Divine World space, the Reincarnation Temple, Zhou opened his eyes and received the memories of possessing Zhou-Wen's will. He quickly learned everything about this battle. A true God tier of the Fire Cry race actually surrendered, causing the extermination process to speed up so much. But it's a good thing. A smile appeared on his face. After this battle, those people of foreign races who coveted the humans and themselves would be wary if they wanted to attack the humans, or them themselves. He had already established his persona after all. Whoever dared to exterminate the human race that he was in, he would personally lead an army to the race's territory to exterminate his race. Under such a threat, those races and forces that felt that their strength was inferior to the Blazing Sun Kingdom would generally not dare to easily invade again. Only those races and factions that felt that they were stronger than Zhou and were not afraid of Zhou's threat of extermination would dare to take the risk of exterminating their race to find trouble with the Blazing Sun Kingdom. It'd be nice to reduce some of the fly's harassment. At this thought, Zhou nodded slightly in his heart. In addition, this persona had only been established for the first time, and it was not very stable. In order to completely stabilize this ruthless character's image, he could not stop his extermination. Those races that did not accept his persuasion had to be exterminated one by one. Furthermore, after this battle, I realized that I seemed to have underestimated the soldiers under my command. Let's not talk about the violent storm spirit for now. Tonight, I will change my profession to an Empire-level long-range soldier type, Forbidden Mage. As an Empire-level close combat soldier type, The Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers can be considered a terrifying existence in the current war, especially in the Annihilation War. Ordinary life forms without extraordinary tier power can't resist such a terrifying Empire-level soldier type at all. They can't even expend the recovery ability of the Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers. Even if we true God tiers don't take action, my tens of billions of Yellow Talisman Dao soldiers can probably complete the extermination mission on their own. It'll just take more time, Zhou thought. At this moment, Aaliyah's voice came from outside. Your Majesty, Bai Yun and the generals request an audience. Let them in, Zhou asked. Yes, Your Majesty, Aaliyah said respectfully. Soon, she saw Bai Yun and the others coming over. Greetings, Your Majesty, the generals, heroes, and god spirits uttered respectfully. Zhou nodded slightly. Your Majesty, this is a summary by Lady Wunya. It's a list of the wars of today. After Bai Yun finished speaking, she pointed with her finger, and an illusory projection appeared in front of everyone. Zhou looked at it. This morning, Bai Yun and the other soldiers and god spirits specialized in hunting down the Eye of the Heaven's anger. They hunted down a total of 30 god spirits, and killed more than 50 million fog monsters along the way. In the afternoon, he went to the Fire Cry race. In this short afternoon, he eliminated more than 13 trillion Fire Cry race members, more than 2 billion Fire Cry race soldiers, and 2 million Fire Cry race god spirits. The war supplies left behind by these enemies, the racial reserves of the Fire Cry race, and their combat items were enhanced by the title of King of Loots and the Strongest Lord. They obtained a total of more than 2,010 million legendary tier mist cores, more than 20,188 million epic tier mist cores, more than 156,055 million extraordinary tier mist cores, 256,445 million diamond tier mist cores, 280 billion and 14 million white platinum tier mist cores, 359 billion, 140 million yellow gold tier mist cores, 5 trillion white silver tier mist cores, 8 trillion green bronze tier mist cores, 216, 568 million black iron tier mist cores. There were more than 5 trillion skill books, and 4 trillion pieces of equipment. The basic materials were about 150 trillion units. More than 20 billion 15 million units of basic elemental gemstone resources. More than 510 million units of thunder element gems. 510,000 units of life elemental gems. 630 million units of death elemental gems. More than 10 million units of time elemental gems. More than 15 million units of space elemental gems. 26 billion 88 million origin crystals. 1012 500 1850 green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments. 11,523 holy spirit tier faith divine crystals. More than 2 billion 50 million units of divine crystals, from low tier to high tier deity level. 500 true god tier elementary grade divine crystals. More than 6 million low tier to high tier deity level divine artifacts. 24 true god tier divine artifacts. There were also more than 12 million divine spark fragments, god tier medicinal herbs, god tier ingredients, god tier ores, god tier blueprints, and other treasures. The 312 Fire Cry race god spirits intrinsic treasure, volcano. The intrinsic treasure of the 4 Fire Cry race true god tiers, volcano. Zhou couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder after reading this part of the summary. Even though they had eliminated so many Fire Cry race today, as ordinary god spirits who did not have extraordinary tier powers, they would not be able to drop any items after being killed. Therefore, only the 2 billion Fire Cry race soldiers and the Fire Cry race god spirits that they had killed today could drop loots in this annihilation battle. Even so, he had also obtained much more spoils of war than yesterday. The reason was that they had also taken away the reserve materials of the Fire Cry race. If not for the fact that they did not have the replenishment of the reserve materials of the Fire Cry race, the advantages of their battle today would have been reduced by at least 20 times. Chapter 1008 10,000 Races Army. preparing to improve the Lord talent. The God Spirit level loots of mid-tier deity level and above had increased quite a bit. They had killed hundreds of fire cry race God Spirits today after all. They naturally did not lack spoils of war from mid-tier deity level and high-tier deity level God Spirits. On the other hand, there were much fewer low-tier deity level loots. That was because the fire cry race did not have that many legendary tier experts for them to destroy. Naturally, they would not drop many low-tier deity level loots. As for the life elemental gems and death elemental gems, they provided he with a total of more than 1 billion. He should be able to meet the requirements for the territory's advancement after experiencing a war of 10 billion levels. The number of time elemental gems and space elemental gems also satisfied him. He just did not know how long it would take to level up after the legendary tier elementary grade territory. As for the final volcanoes, they were the foundation of the fire cry race's life. It was equivalent to the divine spark of the fire cry race, as well as the intrinsic divine artifact of the fire cry race. It also had the effect of assisting the god spirits of the fire cry race to use their domains. It was said that these intrinsic volcanoes were extremely useful to the juniors of the fire cry race. It was even said that they could reconstruct the foundation potential of the fire cry race and make their foundation potential stronger. It was almost equivalent to the combination effect of the Book of the God Spirit and the potential advancement potion. Zhou was not interested in these exclusive treasures of the fire cry race. He casually threw them into the military merit exchange system and set a reasonable price for the fire cry race to exchange for in the future. Then Zhou looked at the God Spirit list and the military strength list. He first looked at the list of God Spirits. Today, True God Shenghua had used his race divine artifact, the Fire Cry Origin Core, to make a total of 396 Fire Cry race God Spirits surrender. Even though most of them were lesser gods, there were still more than 50 mid-tier deity level God Spirits and 16 high-tier deity level God Spirits from the Fire Cry human race. In addition, after today's war, 5 more legendary tier advanced grade soldiers advanced to the lower realm. This allowed Zhou to have 596 god spirits under his command. As for insight defection, it was actually useless. Zhou and the other lords who had mastered insight defection did not expect the effects of the Fire Cry Origin Core to be so terrifying. The moment it appeared, it made most of the Fire Cry clansmen submit. Even most of the god spirits were no exception. Race divine artifacts are born from the luck of the race. If used well, it will be a supreme weapon for the development of the race. However, once it falls into the hands of the enemy, and it's in the hands of a mole who can use a race's divine artifact, it can also become the culprit of the extermination of the race. Zhou sighed. Fortunately, such divine artifacts had yet to appear in the hands of the humans on the Cerulean planet. Otherwise, even he would have to be more careful in the future. As for the number of newly advanced god spirits, there were 10 fewer than yesterday, so Zhou was naturally not surprised. After all, they had already eliminated more than 2 billion soldiers of the Fire Cry clan with extraordinary tier powers. Even with the enhancement of the legendary tier blessing of the war god, it would not provide much promotion energy. Ordinary Fire Cry race members could not obtain the promotion energy at all. In this way, even the Ice Spirit Sacred Heart that could increase the probability of becoming a god couldn't do much. After all, a clever woman couldn't cook without rice. Zhou felt that it was already quite good for 5 legendary tier soldiers to advance to the god spirit realm. Then, he looked at the list of troops. With the help of the race divine artifact, the Fire Cry Origin Core, a total of 2,325,605,412 Fire Cry human race soldiers had joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom's camp. They had already been assigned to a new army called the 10,000 Races Army. The army of all races specially recruited soldiers and god spirits from the people of foreign races to form an army of people of foreign races. This way, he would have 5 legions under him. The Blazing Sun Army was the Blazing Sun Kingdom's super trump card army. The Blazing Sun Army had no restrictions on races, but only elites from other armies could join the Blazing Sun Army. Zhou Zhou's ambition was to turn the Blazing Sun Army into a truly invincible army, the kind that could make the people of foreign races tremble in fear. Speaking of which, currently his troops, excluding the Star Alliance, had a total of 76,893,415,116 soldiers. There were 1,299,699,472 Black Iron Rank soldiers. There were 5,690,928,660 Green Bronze Tier soldiers. There were 21,393,452,845 White Silver Tier soldiers. There were 10,735,753,835 Yellow Gold Tier soldiers. There were 8,489,867,645 White Platinum Tier soldiers. There were 6,369,650 Diamond soldiers. There were 4,139,647,935 Extraordinary Tier soldiers. There were 1,415,347,995 Epic Tier soldiers. There were 6,869,027 Legendary Tier soldiers. As for the god spirits under him, after today's battle, their strength had also increased astonishingly. Among them, Guoqiao, Qi Xiantian, and Yuan Song had advanced to high-tier deity level intermediate grade. Vicky, Bai Yun, Wu Xian, Feng Luo, Suan, and Luo Sheng had all advanced to the mid-tier deity level intermediate grade. The strength of the other god spirits had also increased significantly. Zhou Zhou nodded in satisfaction at the end. Today, because he had dealt with many fire cry race god spirits, the strength of the god spirits under he had intensified much more than before. Perhaps soon, a true god tier will appear among the god spirits under my command. Zhou Zhou was filled with anticipation. Currently, Gerald, Kika, and true god Sheng Huo were true gods who had joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom halfway. None of the god spirits under he had advanced to true god tier. Thinking of this, he silently used the mental divination of the phantom race to calculate the probability of Heros becoming a true god tier. At that moment, Heros was in seclusion in the time world to comprehend laws. Zhou Zhou could only use this method to calculate his chances of becoming a true god tier. He smiled after calculating. Becoming a true god tier without any mishaps. Looks like I'm about to welcome a 5th true god tier under my command. Then, he unveiled the request to advance to the Beginner Empire, and found that the request to conquer any of the lords of the Beginner Empire and possess its low-tier deity level elementary grade empire token had been fulfilled. He nodded slightly. The Fire Cry race was similar to the human race. They had true god tiers of the 5 major races. The true god tiers of each race also had their own empire-level lord factions, just like the 5 major human empires. After this battle, out of the 5 true god tiers of the Fire Cry race, only the master of the sacred fire was left. The 4 destroyed Fire Cry race empires naturally became one of the resources for the Blazing Sun Kingdom to advance to a junior empire. In that case, the only thing left to advance to the Beginner Empire Lord level is to advance the territory level to the low-tier deity level elementary grade. Zhou Zhou muttered to himself. His territory had yet to reach the legendary tier elementary grade, let alone the low-tier deity level elementary grade. He would probably take a long time to advance to the Beginner Empire. Fortunately, he currently had plenty of time. Then, he stopped thinking about this matter. Instead, he unveiled his Lord Talent and looked at the densely packed Lord Talents. Then, he stopped thinking about this matter. Instead, he unveiled his Lord Talent and peered at the densely packed Lord Talents. It's time to upgrade a few mythical tier 1 Lord Talents. Zhou Zhou uttered excitedly. He had been anticipating for this day for a long time. Chapter 1009 Mythical Tier. The only Lord Talent, 10 Sacred Blessings, the protection of the War Master God Terrence. Zhou Zhou glanced at the number of Lord Talent fragments in his King's Treasure Vault. Currently he had 156, 522 Black Iron Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 1,336,025,000 Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 9,239 White Silver Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 5,895 Yellow Gold Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 1,600 White Platinum Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 355 Diamond Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 12 Extraordinary Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 7 Epic Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 5 Legendary Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 6 Mythical Tier, Unique Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. 1. 3 billion Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments. It's enough for me to increase my Mythical Tier Unique Lord Talent. Zhou looked at the number of Lord Talents and nodded in satisfaction. His accumulation during this period of time was not in vain. Then, he looked at his Lord Talent list. Currently, he had 33 Lord Talents, and each Lord Talent had its own function. However, Zhou naturally had to prioritize leveling up. He took 1 billion Green Bronze Tier Lord Talent Crystal Fragments without hesitation, and fused them into a Mythical Tier 1, and only Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystals. Then, he looked at the extremely precious Mythical Tier 1 Lord Talent Origin Divine Crystals, and hesitated for a few seconds. However, in the end, he gave up on the idea of transforming it into a new Mythical Tier Unique Lord Talent. The new Mythical Tier Unique Lord Talent was tempting and curious. However, what Zhou needed now were quality Lord Talents, not a large number of Lord Talents that were not very useful. He would suffer a huge loss if he obtained a Lord Talent that he did not need or overlapped with his abilities. For example, he would obtain a Growth-type Mythical Tier, the Unique Lord Talent, similar to the Chaos Sacred Body. Then there was no need at all. Let's upgrade the original. Zhou took a deep breath and chanted in his heart to use this Mythical Tier 1 and only Lord Skill Origin Divine Crystals. A text notification appeared. As you have 4 Legendary Lord Talents, Insight Defection, Master Thief's Robbery Gloves, Super Construction Engineering 9, and Blessing of the 10 Gods, Blessing of the War God, please choose one to advance. After reading it, he did not hesitate and directly chose to upgrade the Lord Talent, Blessing of the 10 Gods, the Blessing of the War God. As for the other 3 Mythical Tier 1 Lord Talents, they were actually not bad. However, compared to the Blessing of the War God, it was better to wait for now. Lord Talent has been chosen. Upgrading in progress. The next second, he felt an extremely strong warm feeling appear between his eyebrows again. Furthermore, the feeling this time was much stronger than before, when he leveled up his Lord Talent. The warmth faded after a long time. A new text notification appeared. Lord Skill Upgrade successful. Congratulations, your Legendary Tier Lord Talent, Blessing of the 10 Gods, Blessing of the War God, has been upgraded to Mythical Tier. Your only Lord Talent, 10 Sacred Blessings, Protection of Terrence. You have leveled up to Mythical Tier. The only Lord Talent effect is as follows: 10 Divine Blessings. The Protection of the War Master God Terrence, Specific Skill Effect 1. Terrence's Supreme Blessing. One of the 10 Chief Gods under the Supreme Will, the War Master God Tier, Terrence, has performed Supreme Blessing on you and your Combat-type Professionals. You and your Combat-type Professionals will receive an additional 10,000% promotion energy after killing the enemy. Specific Skill Effect 2, War Fanatic. When you and your Combat-type Professionals reach the limit of your potential, you can break through the limit of your potential and reach a new level of strength through life and death battles. In the process of life and death slaughter and war, God spirits could comprehend their own nomological path faster in the midst of great terror, thus completing the accumulation of nomological laws to complete their own realm breakthrough. Specific Talent Effect 3, Master God's Protection. The development process of your Lord's faction will not be hindered by other Master God level powerhouses. The Master God, Terrence, will secretly protect you and your Lord's faction, stopping or killing any Master God level powerhouses who dare to come and have malicious intentions. Specific Skill Effect 4, Guardian of the Divine Kingdom. When your Lord faction advances to beginner-level Divine Kingdom Lord faction, the War God, Terrence will automatically join your Lord faction and become a loyal worshipper of your Master God. However, you have to promise him that you will help him advance to the Supreme God realm in the future. Zhou could not help but gasp after reading it. Was this the blessing of the War God at the mythical tier? No, it should be stated that it was the protection of the 10 sacred blessings. The War Master God, Terrence. Good God. There were a total of 4 talent effects. Not only did the name of the Lord's skill change. Needless to say, the effect of the first talent was obvious. My combat type professionals, and I will obtain an additional 10,000% promotion energy after eliminating the enemy. This was why Zhou was the first to advance to the mythical tier, the only Lord talent. Even if this was the only effect after the upgrade, Zhou was willing. The effect of the second talent was also very shocking. When one's potential reaches the limit, one could break through the limit and complete a new advancement through life and death battles. To other lords, this meant that their lords and their combat professionals would no longer have any potential limitations in the future. Even if his strength had advanced to the limit of his potential, he could break through to a higher level of strength through a new method, war and slaughter. This alone was enough to save countless potential advancement potions. And the most terrifying thing was that this effect was also effective on God spirits. He could even save on the Book of the God Spirit. Furthermore, a life and death battle was extremely dangerous to other lords. However, to Zhou's soldiers, life and death battles were very common. Every one of Zhou's soldiers had died once. There was even a soldier who often charged at the front line, who had already died 116 times. He would die once in a battle. After reviving, he would fight again, treating death as nothing. If Zhou hadn't specially checked on his loyalty once and discovered that he was his fanatic believer, he would have thought that he was a believer of the god of death. However, it was not without results that the other party had died so many times. He was the first soldier to be promoted to a god spirit among the generals under Zhou, who had been promoted to god spirits from legendary tier advanced grade soldiers. Moreover, the other party had already advanced to the mid-tier deity level. He was currently the most powerful new god spirit among the many new god spirits. As for his nomological path, it was a war-type nomological path where the 3 laws of death, war and slaughter intersected. Zhou had ignored him ever since he knew that the other party's nomological path was one of these paths. Chapter 1010. All the violent storm spirits have changed classes to forbidden mages. Zhou wanted to laugh after reading the effect of the third talent effect. Originally, he had been troubled by how to leave the high continent in the future. It was almost certain that the lords of all races would fight a war in the future after all. Everyone tacitly agreed. Lord of all races were destined to take this step in the future. Zhou had always been worried. Once he led the Blazing Sun Kingdom out of the high continent. What if a lord-level expert attacked him? After all, most of the content of the Supreme Agreement was only used by the Lord factions in the high continent. It was equivalent to giving the Lord of all races a first and middle period of protection to prevent some Lord of all races from being slaughtered by the lords of the top bloodline factions in the first and middle period. However, after the first half of the year, the Lord of all races would have a certain level of ability to protect themselves or find a powerful faction to cozy up to. At that time, the battle between the Lord of all races would gradually become a war between races. At this time, the Lord of all races could gradually rely on the races behind them to carry out the Lord War. At this point, this was the true prelude to the Lord War of the 10,000 races. At that time, even though the Lord of all races would still be from the Lord of all races themselves, the civilizations and forces behind them could already interfere in the war of the Lord of all races. For example, sending one or more experts to protect the Lord of all races, sending a certain amount of development resources, and giving special help to other aspects. All of this could happen. Zhou was worried that an enemy at the Master God tier level would attack him and the Blazing Sun Kingdom the moment he left the high continent. Originally, His plan was to use his sword of new dimension creation to open up a cross-border spatial passageway that led directly to another world. Then, he would use some true god-tier divine artifacts to conceal his and his soldiers' whereabouts. Then, he would sneak into another world to leave the high continent and continue the race's struggle for supremacy. But now, he was no longer worried. With the protection of the Master God tier, which was one of the top 10 Master God tiers, it was basically impossible for an enemy at the Master God tier level to cross him to hurt him. As for the higher level Supreme God realm, such existences were only loyal to the supreme will and would not interfere in the Lord's war. Therefore, Zhou was not worried about this at all. He thought for a moment before deciding to be more cautious. Use both options at the same time. If I really reach the stage of the Infinite Worlds competition, I can completely slip into the other world through my own method, then secretly participate in the Infinite Worlds competition, and finally stun all the lords of the 10,000 races. In the end, if I'm really accidentally discovered by an enemy at the Master God tier level, it won't be too late to rely on Master God tier Terrence. Zhou thought. Even though Master God tier Terrence was one of the 10 Master Gods, he was definitely very strong. However, he didn't know this person very well, so he wouldn't bet all his treasures on him. As for the final guardian of the Divine Kingdom, it was even more shocking. Normally speaking, a Divine Kingdom Lord faction only needed 3 true God-tier cultivators to complete the requirements to establish a Divine Kingdom. In the end, he had directly provided a Master God tier. Furthermore, it was one of the 10 strongest Master Gods, the War Master God tier, to be the Divine Kingdom's offering. As for the remaining 2 worship God spirits, he could just casually pull 2 true God tiers up. When the time comes, it was not an exaggeration to call a Divine Kingdom Lord faction with a Master God tier, overseeing it a top-notch international Lord faction. Wait! If the blessing of the 10 gods' blessing of the War Master God tier's blessing is like this, then will the blessings of the other 9 God spirits be like this? At this thought, Zhou's heart skipped a beat. Other than the blessing of the Master God tier, he also had the Wisdom Master God's blessing. If he could really deduce in this way, he could still obtain the protection of the Wisdom Master God tier in the future. Moreover, would he be able to directly possess the 10 Master Gods as his Master Gods when he established his Divine Kingdom, if he upgraded the blessings of the other 9 Master God tiers to the Mythical tier unique level? Fuck. If that was the case, wouldn't he be invincible? Zhou was shocked by his own thoughts. However, he felt that it wasn't very reliable. After all, only 3 true God tiers were required to establish a Divine Kingdom. Even if Master God tiers were to be the Divine Kingdom's worshippers, there would only be 3 at most, right? Zhou was not too sure. He did not want to waste such a precious opportunity to answer the Bodhi Supreme's questions on such a problem. Never mind. I'll level up my Lord talent first. Anyway, as long as I upgrade my Lord talent, I won't lose out. Zhou did not think too much about it. Then, he looked at the remaining Lord talent crystal fragments. If I want to fuse the remaining Lord talent crystal fragment into a mythical tier 1 and only Lord talent origin divine crystals, I'm still short of a less than an epic tier Lord talent crystal fragment. Zhou was speechless after calculating the results. He was just short of upgrading another mythical tier unique Lord talent. We'll talk about it tomorrow. When I gather them tomorrow, I'll upgrade the insight defection to the mythical tier unique level. Zhou thought. Following that, he stopped thinking and entered the time world with Zhou to study the Lord's laws. At the same time, in the capital of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, where the forbidden archmage Su Yuan had changed his profession, more than 30 billion violent storm spirits surrounded the forbidden archmage's job change statue. Greetings, forbidden archmage, Your Excellency Su Yuan, one of the Blazing Sun Army's deputy commanders, who was also a mid-tier deity elementary grade violent storm spirit god spirit, who commanded all the violent storm spirit soldiers, shouted at this moment. The next second, the violent storm spirit soldiers bowed respectfully to the statue of the forbidden archmage, Su Yuan. Obeying orders, Invisibly, it was as if an invisible force had appeared from every soldier's body. Then, it flew in the direction of the forbidden Archmage statue and quickly fused into it. Rumble! This formless and astonishing amount of unknown energy entered the statue's body, causing the entire statue to tremble and emit a shocking four-colored light. At this moment, it was clearly a dead statue, but it seemed to possess come alive. His eyes moved as he gazed down at the more than 30 billion violent storm spirit soldiers around him. He was stunned for a moment before a faint smile seemed on his face. He had a thought. Mist cores flew out of every soldier of the violent storm spirit. Then, these mist cores all turned into energy and surged into the body of the statue of the forbidden Archmage. Then they underwent some transformation in its body and became the power to change professions. In the end, they turned into more than 30 billion lights of various colors that reflected back to every soldier of the violent storm spirit, causing them to undergo a complete transformation. All the violent storm spirit soldiers were experts who had experienced life and death. In the face of the pain caused by their transformation, their expressions were resolute as they silently endured it without saying a word. The forbidden Archmage statue revealed a smile. He did not speak, but a firm and young voice reached the ears of all the violent storm spirit soldiers. Everyone, please guard our human race. With that, he took one last look at the center of the king's city, in the direction of the entrance to the Divine Kingdom's passageway. Then, the phenomenon on his body gradually dissipated, returning to its previous rigid statue appearance. None of the violent storm spirits spoke. They only bowed silently and placed his fist on his heart. Chapter 1011 Forbidden Archmage, Su Yuan's Wonderful Predicament. The Time World. Zhou Zhou, who was walking on the land of the heavenly barbarian empire, more than 25,000 years ago in his incarnation, raised his eyebrows slightly and felt Su Yuan's gaze that transcended space. Forbidden Archmage Su Yuan, is this existence dead or alive? Zhou Zhou pondered. In the end, he decided to use the Bodhi Supreme to ask where this true god tier of the human race was. Speaking of which, it was magical. Through this job change statue, he could clearly sense that this forbidden Archmage, His Excellency Su Yuan, should be a true god tier. However, there was no news of such an existence that could illuminate the heavens with the starlight of the Divine Kingdom in the history of the human race in the High Continent. The Yellow Emperor and the others did not even know who Su Yuan was. This was a little magical. Su Yuan should be a true god tier born from a human from a certain world in the myriad worlds. The light of the Divine Kingdom's stars doesn't appear. Either the other party used some secret technique that can hide his nomological path and made the Divine Kingdom's stars hide, or the other party has died. Previously, Zhou Zhou had thought that the other party had died, which was why he had left behind this job change statue. It had even been sent to him by the Supreme Will. However, Zhou Zhou felt that his guess might be wrong now that he felt the gaze from the statue. The other party clearly still existed in this world. However, for some reason, he could not appear in this world. If we can bring back a true god tier of the human race, it should more or less help the human race and me in our current situation. Zhou Zhou did not hesitate and temporarily retreated from the time world. Then, he took out the Bodhi Supreme and asked about the whereabouts of the forbidden Archmage, Su Yuan. Forbidden Archmage Su Yuan? I need an ordinary explanation. Sure. Zhou Zhou did not hesitate. Ordinary answers were not precious at all. There was nothing to hesitate about. Okay, then let me see. So it's here. Fuck. Bodhi Supreme was about to show Zhou Zhou the illusory scene, but stopped short as it was stunned by the content displayed on the illusory scene. They saw a young man having an indescribable bodily interaction with a goddess. The goddess' perception seemed to be very sharp, noticing them the moment they looked over and looked in Zhou Zhou's direction. Friends of yours? The goddess had a faint smile on her face. She was very open and generous. Don't look. Su Yuan was exasperated. He raised his hand and cast the true god tier spell, Silent Curtain of Destiny. It directly broke the illusory scene set up by Bodhi Supreme, preventing Zhou Zhou and the others from seeing anything. Zhou, Bodhi Supreme. Was that Su Yuan? Zhou hesitated for a moment, but still wanted to confirm it. It was him. Bodhi Supreme said weakly. What's wrong with you? Zhou asked. Sigh. I've been discovered by the Master God tier. I feel that my ability to peek at secrets has decreased. Zhou, am I no longer young? Bodhi Supreme was sad. Is that the goddess of magic? The goddess of magic, Mistra? Zhou was shocked. Su Yuan and the goddess of magic are together? Really? Well done. However, he had worried for nothing. He even thought that he was trapped deep in some predicament. He is indeed trapped deep. However, why are the two of them together? Especially now that the humans have been forced to retreat to the primordial world? Isn't he coming to take a look? Zhou did not say anything. Letting the other party return to guard the human race was moral kidnapping, but was it that inconvenient to return to take a look? One of them created her law of magic, while the other employed the law of forbidden spells of the law of magic to achieve the position of true god tier. The two of them are equivalent to like-minded friends. It's normal for them to be together. As for your question, I can also help you answer it. Bodhi Supreme said. According to what I know, he submitted to the goddess of magic in order for her to open up the full authority of the magic network to the human race back then, so that the human race could have a chance to advance to the master god tier through the nomological path of magic. The goddess of magic signed an agreement with the forbidden archmage. Only when the forbidden archmage breaks through to the master god tier level will she let him return to the human race. Well, actually it's not really a sacrifice, because the two of them are in love to begin with. This is just the reason why the goddess of magic asked the forbidden archmage not to stay in the human race for too long. There's such an agreement between the goddess of magic and the forbidden archmage? The magic network actually wasn't fully open to humans before they inked the agreement? Yes, the Bodhi Supreme said. Before this agreement, the magic network was only open up to the legendary tier for humans. In other words, no matter how high the potential of the human mages at that time was, they could only cultivate to legendary tier advance grade through the path of magic. It's impossible to become a god spirit, let alone a true god tier or a master god tier. That's why there were so many legends of mages defeating god spirits in the legendary tier of the human race. It looks like they were showing off his achievements, but they were actually forced to do so. Who would be willing to fight above their level? Zhou frowned. Why did that happen? According to my bloodline inheritance, the goddess of magic is also a god spirit who cultivates both the path of laws and the path of faith. Therefore, she is very generous with the authority of the magic network. 99% of the races in the myriad worlds can cultivate to the true god tier level through the magic network. However, when they advance to the master god tier level, they need to join the goddess of magic's camp. More and more life forms are cultivating the magic network. It's beneficial to the goddess of magic. Why doesn't the human race have full authority? He thought for a moment and frowned. Are the Chaos Gods race obstructing us? You're thinking too much. Why would the Chaos Gods race only target you humans? The difference between the current humans and the Chaos humans of the past is huge. You should understand this as a Chaos human. Before you, the Chaos Gods race might not even understand about the human race. The Bodhi Supreme said. In short, the matter you're asking involves the highest level of secrets. If you want to know, you need to give me something more. Zhou's frown deepened. The highest level of secrets. Was it a secret at the level of the Supreme Will? It was also because of this that the goddess of magic prevented Su Yuan from returning to the human race before he became a master god tier? He took a deep breath and shook his head with a smile. Forget it. It's useless for me to understand such a secret. It's a waste of my time. It won't be too late to find out when I reach that level in the future. Wise choice. The Bodhi Supreme praised. Zhou nodded. Then, he thought of something and was suddenly shocked. Just now, I observed that Su Yuan's strength appeared to have already attained the true god tier advanced grade. Yes, stated Bodhi Supreme with a smile. It's already on the same level as Imperial Lord Pengu of your human race. Su Yuan's potential is at least a Master God tier advanced grade. Zhou said. Master God tier's advanced grade is slightly low, Bodhi Supreme said. The goddess of magic is proud and arrogant. Countless Master God tiers have courted her. Even Master God tier Terrence has done something similar. But the goddess of magic has mercilessly rejected him. Since Su Yuan was favored by the goddess of magic, other than the two of them being like-minded, the goddess of magic probably believes that he has the potential of reaching the supreme god realm in the future. Chapter 1012 Second Avatar. Zhou. Hundreds of billions of soldiers. Zhou nodded silently. It seemed that he could only wait for the other party to become a Master God tier in the future, before they could meet again. Following that, he took one last look at the soldiers who were still in front of the job change statue, and undergoing the job change transformation before he turned around and entered the time world again to study the Lord's Law with Zhou. This was one of the advantages of a clone. He could even comprehend laws at the same time, obtaining double the efficiency and double the benefits. Time passed quickly. One night had passed in the blink of an eye. In the time world, Zhou woke up from the reincarnation sacred palace. He recalled the progress from last night and couldn't help but smile. With the addition of my clone, the comprehension effect has actually doubled. I feel like I'm one step closer to the low-tier deity level advanced grade. This talent doppelganger technique is simply a divine skill for me. Zhou was elated. He thought for a moment and decided to split out a second clone. He had the ability to create a second clone without any future troubles now that his main Bodhi's origin power had completely recovered. With every additional clone, his efficiency in comprehending the Lord's laws would double. He could even help him do things. Zhou naturally would not delay such a good thing. Without any hesitation, he immediately activated his talent, doppelganger technique. The next second, he felt the origin power in his body rapidly flow out of his heart. Then it gathered in her hand, forming a ball of 9-colored origin power. Zhou looked at this familiar scene. The ball of origin energy in his hand gradually condensed into a palm-sized Zhou. He jumped out of Zhou's hand. As he jumped down, he rapidly grew in size. By the time he landed on the ground, he had already become the same size as Zhou. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Zhou already exists, so your name is Zhou too? Zhou asked. Alright, main body. Zhou agreed. What do I have to do? Zhou fell into deep thought. Since Zhou wants to fight, you'll be in charge. From today onwards, you will take over Prime Minister Zheng's main government affairs and be in charge of daily government affairs. It's not good to always get Prime Minister Zheng and the others to help. Now that the Blazing Sun Kingdom is getting bigger and bigger, you should act like an emperor. You can't just leave everything to others. No problem, Zhou said without hesitation. We've used a skill book called the Emperor's Heart Technique. There are also many inherited memories of bloodlines. It records the inherited memories of countless lords, and even lords of races. Dealing with government affairs can't be any simpler for us. I will do better than Zheng Yuanqi and the rest. That's for the best, Zhou acknowledged. Naturally, he would believe Zhou. Zhou was right after all. Compared to Zheng Yuanqi, who used his experience to handle government affairs, Zhou, who had the Emperor's Heart Technique and the inheritance of countless races, would definitely do better than Zheng Yuanqi. I have an idea, Zhou suddenly said. What idea? Zhou was stunned. Zhou and Zhou sound bad, and are difficult to distinguish. Why don't we call ourselves Zhou Fight and Zhou Manage? Zhou said expectantly. That works too. Zhou nodded nonchalantly, not minding such a small matter. As for Zhou Manage's idea of changing his name, that was too normal. It was a Master God tier talent after all. It would be strange if he couldn't even make his request. Zhou Manage nodded, and left the Divine Kingdom, to look for Zheng Yuanqi. Zhou watched Zhou Manage leave with a faint smile on his face. With Zhou Manage helping him nurture the experience of an emperor, his main body would not have to work hard to enjoy the results in the future. Then, he sent a portion of his will into Zhou avatar. No, it should be Zhou Fight's avatar. Then, he brought him to Mugu. After learning from Mugu that Bai Yun was leading troops to clear out the monsters in the ranch world, he waited with Mugu. A moment later, Bai Yun flew out of the ranch world. "Greetings, Your Majesty." When Bai Yun saw Zhou, she immediately said respectfully. Then, he handed a spatial ring to Zhou. Zhou took it and looked at the items in the ring. They were 13. 5 billion yellow talisman Dao soldier recruitment books, 13. 5 billion yellow talisman Dao soldier class change certificates, 3. 75 trillion violent storm spirit recruitment books, and 3. 75 trillion violent storm spirit class change certificates. Zhou nodded in satisfaction. He did not immediately go to the gate of summoning. Instead, he first handed all the class change certificates to Bai Yun. "Bai Yun, give these class change certificates to the new recruits in the country who have not joined the army. Let them immediately change their professions and become usable combat power. Then, get them to enlist our army and become official soldiers." A smile appeared on Zhou's face. Yesterday, we had already settled all the class change certificates we owed for buying the human territory. Now we have a large number of human subjects in our hands. Previously, we never used our class change certificate on ourselves because we didn't have enough subjects. Most of the previous class change certificates were also sold to others. Not anymore. Starting today, we'll use our class change certificate ourselves. If there aren't enough human subjects to change occupations, then let the Fire Cry human race do it. A few 100 trillion members of the Fire Cry human race can always consume our class change certificate. "Yes, Your Majesty," Bai Yun immediately said respectfully and excitedly. If they could really use all the class change certificates, their military strength would double. Zhou nodded and took the remaining recruitment books to the gate of summoning. He cast all the recruitment books inside and used 100 epic tier mist cores to summon all the recruits at once. The 17,250,000,000 new recruits directly appeared on the 20 galaxy that he had called over, almost filling up the internal world of the galaxy. Zhou gazed at the new recruits on the galaxy and acknowledged in satisfaction. He already had 74, 567, 800, 9704 soldiers under him. Now, with the addition of these 17,250,000,000 new recruits, the number of soldiers under he has reached an astonishing 91,817,800,000 soldiers. If Bai Yun used the class change certificate to create 25 billion new recruits, the number of new recruits under him would directly surpass 100 billion, reaching an astonishing 109,067,809,704. In addition to the 782 billion soldiers of the Star Alliance, he had more than 120 billion soldiers. Over 120 billion soldiers. Zhou muttered to himself. Even though this number can't compare to Uriel's 500 billion soldiers, my soldier types will all be empire level, while theirs will be mixed. In terms of true combat strength, my soldiers might not necessarily be weaker than them. It's just that the difference in God spirits is too great. Zhou fluttered his head. If not for the huge difference in God spirits, he even wanted to lead his troops to counterattack Uriel and the people of foreign races immediately. As for now, it was better to lay low and develop for a period of time. But at least there's hope of a confrontation, Zhou muttered. Chapter 1013 Three Goods. The Shepherd's God Race's Bloodline Talent. Zhou asked Wuxia to control these 20 galaxy ships to carry more than 17 billion new recruits to the army base after he summoned the new recruits. And he didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood in front of the gate of summoning and summoned the new subject for today. He roughly checked the attribute information of these 44,000 new subjects after all the new subjects were summoned. In the end, he regretfully discovered that there were no unique extraordinary tier professionals among these new subjects that attracted him. However, Zhou was not disappointed. Special subjects like the extraordinary tier professionals were naturally the best. It did not matter if they did not. Then, He went straight to the Lord's shop. When he arrived at the Lord's shop, he realized that Zhou Qingmin was indeed sitting in front of the counter, looking like he had been waiting for a long time. "Your Majesty is here." Zhou Qingmin stood up and chuckled. "There is something good in the Lord's shop this time." Zhou was stunned. This guy actually said that there was something good? This was the first time. Could it really be something good? "Take it out and take a look," Zhou said expectantly. Zhou Qingmin smiled and took out 3 gift boxes from under the counter. He opened the 3 boxes one by one. Then, Zhou was surprised to discover that there were 3 talent crystals inside. Zhou looked at them one by one. Talent, Shepherd's God Race, Talent Effect. The Shepherd's God Race's strongest intrinsic talent. The Shepherd's God Race is born with the Divine Court Realm apertures. Every Divine Court Realm aperture will nurture a Divine Court spirit. The Shepherd's God Race with higher potential would naturally have more Divine Court Realm apertures. On the other hand, the number would decrease, but it would not be less than 49 Divine Court Realm apertures. Before the Shepherd's God Race advanced to the God Spirit Realm, the Divine Court Realm apertures could help the Shepherd's God Race speed up the recovery of the energy in their bodies. Furthermore, before the Shepherd's God Race became God Spirits, they could use the Divine Court Spirit in the Divine Court Realm apertures to accommodate and use the power of laws in advance, allowing the Shepherd's God Race to use the power of laws before they became God Spirits. After becoming a God Spirit, the Divine Court Realm apertures would evolve into a small divine world. The spirit of the Divine Court Realm would be promoted to a small God Spirit. The small God Spirit would help the Shepherd's God Race rule the small divine world and respect the Shepherd's God Race as their leader. This would provide faith and divine power to the Shepherd's God Race. Talent, Divine Body of Laws, Talent Effect. The Shepherd's God Race's physique can be compatible with all nomological powers. Even the opposite nomological powers can be compatible or even fused. Furthermore, when casting nomological attacks, the Shepherd's God Race will not be harmed by any form of nomological backlash. Talent, Boundless Divine Power, Talent Effect. The total amount of divine power of the Shepherd's God Race is determined by the number of Divine Court Realm apertures he has. The divine power that each Divine Court Realm aperture could contain was equivalent to all the physical magic power of the Shepherd's God Race after they threw away the Divine Court Realm apertures. The Shepherd's God Race, who had 3,000 Divine Court Realm apertures, would have an endless and inexhaustible divine power source like the Sea of Origin. They're all top-grade talents of the Mu God clan. Zhou's eyes lit up when he saw the 3 items. The Shepherd's God Race, the strongest talent of the Shepherd's God Race. With this talent, the Shepherd's God Race was equivalent to having 3,000 small worlds. Although these 3,000 small worlds combined were not as big as one of the original spirit race's intrinsic worlds, it had all the functions that ordinary worlds should have. The Divine Body of Laws was an extremely powerful combat talent. In the future, no matter how much he used law skills, he wouldn't have to worry about his divine body getting injured. As for the last talent, Boundless Divine Power, it was even more astonishing. According to its description, the divine power stored in every small divine world of the Mu God Race was equivalent to all the divine power possessed by the main body. For example, Yuan Song had 1,580 Divine Court Realm apertures in its body. If the Yuan Song needed to release an attack that required all its divine power, then he could release such an attack as many as 1,580 times in a row. What a shocking reserve of divine power! Coupled with the Divine Body of Laws, which could withstand torture, the two were a perfect match. If the Chaos God's race is said to be an invincible close combat god of war with an invincible body, then the Shepherd's God race is equivalent to a super archmage with a law skill and a machine gun. Zhou concluded. As for the original spirit race, they were born with worlds and were born as world gods. They were slightly inferior to the Chaos God's race in terms of physique and overall divine power, but they were not much inferior to the Shepherd's God race. Furthermore, their comprehension of laws was currently number 1 among the myriad races. It was said that the number of gods in their race was the sum of the Chaos God's race and Shepherd's God race combined. They were the first race born between heaven and earth. They were the natural favorites of the supreme will, and they were a race at the level of the children of the Virgin. In terms of luck, the two God races combined could not compare to the original spirit race. It was said that there was another reason why the original spirit race could suppress the Chaos God's race and Shepherd's God race. However, Zhou did not know the specifics. Zhou did not care much about such matters. In any case, he also had the bloodline of the original spirit race in him. As for the chaotic human tribe that had been destroyed, be it in terms of divine body, divine power, or comprehension, they were inferior to these three races. However, due to the special bloodline of the chaos humans, their growth potential was number one among all races. As long as the chaos humans were given enough time to fuse with enough bloodlines, they would be able to catch up to, or even surpass the three top bloodline races. Just like the current Zhou, I've already absorbed the bloodlines of the original spirit race and the Chaos God's race. Coupled with the addition of other fragmented bloodlines, my comprehension and the strength of my divine body have already far exceeded the original spirit race and the Chaos God's race at the same level. In addition to the Shepherd's God race's divine power enhancement, my total divine power shall also far exceed the Shepherd's God race at the same level. These three top-notch bloodline abilities are all augmented on me alone. Even if my chaos human bloodline is only at the high-tier deity level elementary grade, it would be enough to be called the strongest bloodline in the infinite worlds. At the considered of this, Zhou stopped hesitating and immediately questioned Zhou Qingmin how many mist cores these trio products cost. Talent: Shepherd's God race, worth 10,000 legendary tier mist core. Talent: Nomological divine body, worth 1,000 legendary tier mist cores. Talent: Boundless divine power, worth 3,000 legendary tier mist core. Zhou Qingmin smiled. Zhou took out 18,000 legendary tier mist cores and handed them to the other party, without any hesitation. Then, he took the trio items from the alternate party and returned to the cultivation room in the Divine Kingdom world. A mysterious smile appeared on Zhou Qingmin's face as he watched Zhou leave. The reason why I stated it's good is not only because the goods this moment are the Shepherd's God race's bloodline talent. After he finished speaking, he leisurely turned around and returned to his esports chair. Then, he put on the virtual gaming helmet and entered the game world. Chapter 1014: The Shakjing Yuanqi. The Matters of the People of the Foreign Race Alliance. In the Divine Kingdom World Cultivation Hall, Zhou used the three talent crystals one by one. Soon, he felt waves of heat and pain coming from various places in his body other than his heart. He could sense that his divine body was being modified by his talent, transforming into a nomological divine body and giving birth to divine court realm apertures. While enduring the pain, Zhou was also a little curious about how many divine court realm apertures he could produce. According to the talent information, the more talented the Shepherd's God race, the more divine court realm apertures there would be. The Yuan Song had 1,580 divine court realm apertures. It could already be said to be an extremely talented member of the Shepherd's God race. It was said that, if he could reach the limit of the Shepherd's God race's talent, 3,000 divine court realm apertures, it even had the potential to advance to the Supreme God realm. Zhou knew that currently, the strongest lord of the Shepherd's God race, the heaven-chasing lord, this old opponent of his, had 3,000 divine court realm apertures. According to Yuan Song's understanding, other than 3,000 divine court realm apertures, the other party had also awakened the strongest lord talent that was most suitable for these 3,000 divine court realm apertures. Mythical tier, the only lord talent, 3,000 divine kings. The combination of the two made the other party the existence with the highest chance of becoming a supreme god realm expert in the Shepherd's God race. Therefore, the heaven-chasing lord status was the same as the true lord of the original spirit race. They were both respected as the supreme holy sons of the race. Even the true god tier, had to be extremely polite to this heaven-chasing lord. They even had to deliberately flatter him. I should be able to awaken 3,000 divine court realm apertures. Zhou already had a premonition about the outcome of this matter. Time passed slowly. In this period of time, Bai Yin had already given all the class change certificates that Zhou had given in the morning to the new recruits who had not joined the army. She wanted them to successfully change their professions to extraordinary tier professionals, and all the violent storm spirit recruits to forbidden mages. Finally, she wanted them all to join the Blazing Sun Army. At this moment, Zhou's soldiers had officially reached more than 120 billion soldiers. Then, he went to look for Zhou to ask for instructions on what to do next. Zhou was currently undergoing the Shepherd's God race's innate talent modification, so he naturally could not come out to meet Bai Yin. However, he had already arranged for a portion of his will to enter Zhou Fight's body. Therefore, after hearing the news of Bai Yun's arrival, he walked out of the Divine Kingdom world to meet Bai Yun. Zhou's will spoke for Zhou Fight faced with Bai Yun's question. It will still be yesterday's order of action. It'll kill 30 targets of the Eye of the Heaven's anger first, then destroy a race that doesn't accept the letter of surrender. Yes, Your Majesty, Bai Yin said respectfully. They did not waste any time. They took all the soldiers and piloted 200 galaxy towards the nearest target of the Eye of the Heaven's anger. At the same time, Zhou's second clone, Zhou Manage, had successfully taken over Zheng Yuanqi's work. Faced with Zhou Manage's request, Zheng Yuanqi's first reaction was a little stunned. This was because he did not expect His Majesty to suddenly take back the job he was in charge of. However, he immediately smiled in relief. His Majesty could be said to be peerless in conquering the people of foreign races. Many lords of the people of foreign races could not compare to His Majesty at all. He forcefully created the title and glory of the number one lord of the 10,000 races in the world. Now His Majesty has to start training his ability to deal with government affairs. His Majesty is really becoming more and more like the perfect king of our subjects. Zheng Yuanqi felt emotional and happy. Then, he didn't waste any time. He immediately rushed the ministers who helped he deal with the government affairs of the territory. He summarized the work that should have belonged to the Lord, and returned them to Zhou Manage one by one. During this process, whether it was Zheng Yuanqi or the other ministers, they did not have any unwillingness to lose their power on their faces or hearts. As the higher-ups of the territory, almost all of them were Zhou's fanatic believers. With their loyalty and faith in Zhou, they naturally wouldn't have such disloyal psychological reactions. After handing all the administrative documents that belonged to the Lord to Zhou Manage, all the ministers, including Zheng Yuanqi, heaved a sigh of relief. Frankly speaking, as the Blazing Sun Kingdom's territory grew larger and larger, it now had the territories of two races. Under such circumstances, the number of government affairs that Zheng Yuanqi and the others dealt with every day had already reached an extremely terrifying number. And this number was still increasing. Even if they kept expanding the number of officials at all levels, they could not deal with the rapidly increasing number of government affairs. Among these government affairs, at least a quarter of them belonged to lords. Now that His Majesty was willing to take over this part of the government affairs, the burden on their shoulders would be much easier. However, they also knew that this was His Majesty's first time officially handling these government affairs, and they were extremely huge and complicated. He would definitely not be proficient in handling them for the first time, and there was a high chance that he would make a mistake. Therefore, they were already prepared to assist His Majesty in handling government affairs at any time. Even though doing so might make His Majesty feel uncomfortable, for the sake of the territory, and for His Majesty's growth, this was something they felt that they had to do. However, when Zhou Manage sat down and picked up the administrative documents to deal with the administrative matters one by one, the expression on their faces changed from relief to apprehension, then gradually to surprise. In the end, they widened their mouths in shock. This was because when His Majesty was handling government affairs, he was indeed a little unskilled at the beginning. He looked completely like a newbie handling government affairs, and he even had a curious expression on his face. However, as time passed, Zhou Manage's speed of handling government affairs became faster and faster. In less than half an hour, he had already handled more than 1,000 government documents, and his efficiency was yet increasing. This, Zheng Yuanqi and the rest were dumbfounded. They looked at each other in a daze. Even if His Majesty was a god spirit, the efficiency of analyzing the content was much higher than them. So it shouldn't be so fast, right? Dealing with government affairs mainly relied on experience, not analytical ability after all. They suddenly thought of something. Could His Majesty be just making up a story? They hurriedly picked up the documents that Zhou Manage had just dealt with and opened them one by one. When they first read the instructions written by Zhou Manage, they immediately widened their eyes. As they read deeper, their eyes grew bigger and bigger. In the end, their eyes even lit up, and they became obsessed. Can the conflict between the people of foreign races be dealt with like this? There's actually such a loophole in the promotion of officials. I actually didn't notice it before. So the intention of giving in to the people here is actually so deep. The wise and far-sighted thoughts of a king. This is the sage's plan. No, I have to record it down. This people of foreign race dispute was handled too well. Zheng Yuanqi and the other officials went crazy. They held the administrative documents that Zhou Manage had handled, as if they were holding the holy record in their hearts. They only woke up after knowing that Zhou Manage's voice had repeated in their ears several times. What are you doing? Zhou Manage looked at them. Distribute these administrative documents and execute them. Aye, aye. They reacted and hurriedly said. Then he left with these administrative documents, as if he was holding a treasure. Zhou Manage smiled and shook his head. Then, he continued to deal with the mountain of government affairs. In Zheng Yuanqi's eyes, these government affairs needed a day to be dealt with. But to Zhou Manage, 2 hours was about it. After he familiarized him with the emperor's legacy in his mind, half an hour was enough. A moment later, he saw an administrative document personally written by Zheng Yuanqi, and raised his eyebrows slightly. He opened it and took a look. The document reads as follows. Your Majesty, up until now, a total of 15,366 races have sent envoys to our blazing Sun Kingdom. Among them, there had been 104 envoys from the people of foreign races. They were the people of foreign races who had stopped the humans from retreating to the primordial world some time ago. Then, they were beaten back by us and sent a letter of surrender. They have already accepted the letter of surrender and are willing to turn into our subsidiary race. As for the remaining 15,262 envoys of the people of foreign races, they heard of our reputation and want to form an alliance with us. We have already checked the racial information of 1,672 people of foreign races and confirmed that 519 of them are worth to ally with. Are we going to formalize an alliance with them? Zhou Manage fell into deep thought. Chapter 1015 Alliance of Foreign Races. 3,000 Divine Court Realm Apertures. Zhou didn't hesitate for too long and directly printed the approval seal on this administrative document. After printing it, Zhou looked at the document and muttered to himself. With the Lord talent of the peaceful times, these people of foreign races who surrendered to me basically won't have any disloyalty. As for those people of foreign races seeking an alliance, as long as I maintain my peak strength and become stronger, I will let these people of foreign races see the benefits of following me. This alliance will be the most stable alliance. Even if the strength of my territory has decreased greatly, I'm already an enemy of the entire world. It doesn't matter if I have more enemies. Zhou thought to himself. As for these alliances and the surrendered people of foreign races, they were naturally beneficial to his lord's forces. Mutual help was the most basic requirement. B0XO. Calm, of course. If they felt that the enemy the other party had provoked was not someone they could deal with together, not only would they not be able to help, but they would also easily suffer. Then there would be no need to force the alliance. It was the instinct of all living beings to seek benefits and avoid harm, not to mention these people of foreign races. Even if Zhou knew that an alliance of people of foreign races had provoked more than 10 Divine Kingdom Lord factions, because they were arrogant and conceited, because of their alliance relationship, and wanted to rely on their alliance relationship to seek refuge, he would not have cared about their request for help. There are more than 15,000 people of foreign races. Even if each person of foreign races sends 1 billion soldiers to assist my army in battle, we can still gather a total of 15 billion soldiers. Zhou thought. However, that was not how the military strength was calculated. First of all, they were allies, not subordinates. They could help each other. However, if he wanted the people of foreign races in the alliance to send troops to help him in the process of conquering other people of foreign races, that would be another matter. If they sent troops to help you, it would be a favor that you would have to repay in the future. If the other party did not send troops out to watch coldly, Zhou would not be able to say anything. Secondly, any race would more or less have enemies from other people of foreign races, due to various reasons, such as territorial conflicts. For example, the enemies of the people of foreign races that the humans encountered when they retreated to the primordial world were all hostile races of the humans. This was the case for humans. It was the same for the 15,000 people of foreign races. They might even be in greater trouble than the humans. If he dared to mobilize more than 15,000 people of foreign races to help him conquer the territory, there would probably be more than 15,000 people of foreign races, or even more people of foreign races on the second day. There was a reason for them to join forces to attack him. That was a perfect example. Zhou did not have the ability to make so many enemies for the time being, so he would definitely not do such a stupid thing. Even though these people of foreign races are very powerful, they can't be used easily. Otherwise, we might have obtained some unimaginable victories at the beginning. But then there's endless trouble. If I want to use it, I have to carefully screen the origins of the people of foreign races to prevent myself from getting into trouble. I can only use the power of all the people of foreign races when I'm in a desperate situation. After all, there shouldn't be anything to worry about then. Zhou thought. As for the 104 people of foreign races who accepted the letter of surrender, they did not have so many scruples. Zheng Yuanqi directly ordered the other party to send 1 billion soldiers from the people of foreign races to the Blazing Sun Kingdom and join the army of 10,000 races to serve the Blazing Sun Kingdom and Zhou. 1 billion soldiers from the people of foreign races and 104 people of foreign races added up to a total of 104 billion soldiers. When these people of foreign races arrived at the capital, the total number of soldiers under Zhou would exceed 200 billion. It doubled. In addition, the number of foreign races soldiers that Zheng Yuanqi had set up was also very small. This number could not only replenish the troops of the Blazing Sun Kingdom, it could also not affect the people of foreign races, who possessed already lost a lot of troops, allowing them to leave behind enough soldiers to guard the territory of their race. Apart from the soldiers, these surrendered people of foreign races would also send large amounts of mist cores, materials, medicinal herbs, secret manuals, skill books, equipment, and other resources to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. These resources were naturally what the defeated party and the surrendered party should do. Most importantly, these 104 people of foreign races would send 10 deities, from low-tier deity level elementary grade to high-tier deity level advanced grade, to join the Blazing Sun Kingdom. A total of 1,040 god spirits from the 104 people of foreign races. They would arrive together with the soldiers no later than the night after tomorrow. The total number of god spirits under Zhou would reach at least 2,000 when they arrived. Zhou managed nodded in satisfaction. Subduing a race-level faction, not just one or two, but hundreds of race-level factions, was just so satisfying. 1,040 god spirits. If he relied on himself to nurture 1,000 god spirits, who knew how long it would take for him to do so? Now it was easily achieved through war. War is indeed the best way to increase one's strength and influence. Zhou managed sighed. Then, he continued to handle the next administrative matter. In the Divine Kingdom World Cultivation Hall, Zhou opened his eyes. With a thought, the Emperor Dragon robe on he gradually disappeared, and his perfect divine body that was like a god appeared. He gazed at his divine body and possessed a thought. White vortexes that emitted holy light appeared on the surface of his body and moved at a constant speed. From afar, it looked like a large number of galaxies had appeared on Zhou's body. If one looked closely, they would discover that an entire world was revealed in these vortexes. Furthermore, at the source of the world, there was an existence that looked very much like Zhou's small god spirit. If an entire world was vaguely visible in each vortex, then there were a total of 3,000 such vortexes on Zhou's body. 3,000 divine court realm apertures. Just as I expected. However, my 3,000 divine court realm apertures seemed to be different from the ones Yuan Song mentioned. Zhou nodded slightly. Then, he touched his heart as a strange expression appeared on his face. In his perception, the world that possessed awakened from the original spirit race in his heart was ingeniously connected to the world of the 3,000 divine court realm apertures that had awakened from the shepherd gods in a way that he couldn't understand. After connecting, be it the world in the divine court realm apertures or the world in the heart, they began to grow in a perfect direction, as if they wanted to raise the world awakened by the original spirit race's bloodline, and the world in the divine court realm apertures, to the level of a perfect world. Moreover, they were not the only ones who possessed developed to the level of a perfect world. Under their influence, he sensed that his already incomparably powerful divine body of chaos was also beginning to become stronger. Zhou possessed a feeling, when his 3,000 divine court realm apertures world, the world in his heart, and the chaotic divine body grew to a perfect level and filled in an extremely important bloodline. They would undergo an extremely shocking qualitative change. Chapter 1016 Missing Bloodline. Heras became a true god tier. The bloodlines of the original spirit race, shepherd's god race, chaos god's race, and chaos human race can actually produce such a miraculous change when they are gathered together. But what do I think the missing bloodline is? Bloodline of the myriad spirit race? Titan race bloodline? Creation elf bloodline? Or some other top-notch bloodline? Zhou pondered carefully. What he was thinking of was considered a top-notch bloodline. However, after thinking for a while, he still couldn't determine which was which, so in the end, he decided to ask Bodhi Supreme. This concerned his future after all. He had to take it seriously. Then, he took out the Bodhi Supreme and asked it this question. Then Bodhi Supreme gave he an answer that he had never thought of. No, it was not really an answer. I don't know. Bodhi Supreme said solemnly. Its tone was no longer as lazy as before. You don't know. Zhou was stunned. Didn't this guy claim to be omniscient? I really don't know about this. Bodhi Supreme also saw Zhou's expression and said helplessly, even though I claim to be omniscient, that's because my knowledge comes from the Supreme Will. I basically know 99% of what the Supreme Will knows. Because with the Supreme Will's omniscient and omnipotent power, I naturally dare to boldly say that I know everything. But if there's something that even the Supreme Will doesn't know, I naturally won't be able to answer you. TSK, Zhou. In the endless heavens, there are very few things that even the Supreme Will doesn't know. What you encountered is also magical. Zhou. What could he say? Looks like I can only rely on myself. He thought helplessly. Then, he sensed the level of his bloodline. He realized that his chaotic human race bloodline had already jumped from a high-tier deity-level elementary grade bloodline to a high-tier deity-level advanced grade bloodline. He was only a step away from advancing to a true god-tier bloodline. According to the records of my chaos human bloodline, the true god-tier chaos human bloodline will be a bottleneck for any chaos human. I'm no exception. I'm afraid I won't be able to advance to the true god-tier elementary grade chaos human bloodline in a short period of time. There should be 3 standard ways to break through the bottleneck and advance to the true god-tier elementary grade chaos human bloodline. The first method is to devour a large number of bloodlines and rely on the quantitative advantage to achieve a qualitative change. you can forcefully break through the bottleneck and advance to the true God tier elementary grade chaos human bloodline. The second method is to devour a large number of chaos beasts, which is the chaos god's race, to advance to the true God tier elementary grade of the chaos human race. The flesh of chaos beasts is a great tonic for the chaos humans. That's what the chaos humans did in the chaos era. The third method is to find the missing part of my bloodline that I sense. As long as I find that mysterious bloodline and let my inner world advance to the perfect world realm, my bloodline can advance to the true God tier elementary grade. For now, I don't want to fall out with the chaos god's race right now. Moreover, even if I were to eat all those newbies from the chaos god's race, it probably wouldn't be enough for me to advance to the true God tier elementary grade of the chaos human race. If we go to the Chaos God's race's base camp to look for those Chaos God's race beings, that would be courting death. As one of the top 3 bloodlines in the endless heavens, the Chaos God's race's base camp would definitely have several chief gods overseeing it. Furthermore, they would also have extremely rare Supreme God realm trump cards on them. I won't be able to find it. I don't have any clue about that missing bloodline either. From the looks of it, I think I only have the first path to take. Collecting a large number of bloodlines to achieve a qualitative change in quantity? It's not impossible. Zhou was deep in thought. In any case, he was engaged in racial-level wars every day. Furthermore, his territory was constantly expanding. Every day, a large number of bloodlines allowed him to devour and evolve. Sooner or later, his energy would undergo a qualitative change, allowing his bloodline to advance to the true God tier elementary grade chaos human bloodline. It might be slow, but it was steady. Zhou loved stability. Let's do it. Zhou made up his mind. At this moment, he suddenly sensed something and looked into the distance. His gaze seemed to pass through the Divine Kingdom world and see the vast starry sky outside the Divine Kingdom. At an unknown distance from his Divine Kingdom star, a huge Divine Kingdom star with a diameter of about 1,000,000 light-years slowly appeared. It emitted scorching golden flames and was like a smaller sun. When this Divine Kingdom star first appeared, it was still transparent. However, not long after, it began to quickly solidify, turning into a real star that stood in the starry sky. Its golden flames illuminated the myriad worlds and began to spread the inheritance of its master. Another true God tier God spirit has been born. Zhou said softly when he saw this. Then he revealed a smile. This was likely to be from the aura emitted by this Divine Kingdom star, which should be the Divine Kingdom star, after Heros became a true God tier. His divine body instantly vanished on the spot. The next second, he appeared in the sky above the blazing Sun Kingdom. He looked up. At this moment, the sky above the blazing Sun Kingdom had already turned into a golden fire cloud formed by golden flames, emitting a domineering and blazing power of the laws of fire. He looked at Heros' residence. He realized that Heros had not come out yet. It seemed that he was still in the process of breaking through. Zhou was not in a hurry. He simply sat on a cloud and casually set up the 9 worlds divine demon dreamfall array. Then he quietly waited for the enemy to arrive. During this process, Patriarch Lu and Bai He also came over. They looked at the true God tier phenomenon in the sky, and then looked at Zhou with a complicated expression. Another true deity level has been born here? Patriarch Lu said. He said the word again in a very complicated tone. Bai He's expression was the same. No matter how they thought about it, they could not understand why a true deity level, that only appeared once every 10,000 years in the outside world, could emerge so easily in this person's territory. Furthermore, they were born one after another. Humanity had spent countless resources and countless years to give birth to true God tiers like Patriarch Lu and Bai He. But what about this person? They could not figure it out. Thankfully, Zhou was on their side. Otherwise, they would probably not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Zhou smiled. If the two of you come to my territory in the future, and are really worship God, you'll know, he said casually. Bai He and Patriarch Lu began to ponder seriously. However, after thinking for a long time, they eventually sighed. We're not Geralt. We can't bypass the supreme agreement and join your territory. Bai he said. Patriarch Lu nodded as well. Zhou nodded. That was why he had never mentioned such matters in front of the two of them. In the time that followed, Zhou and the other two were protecting Heras. In the end, they waited for a long time. When the golden flames in the sky were about to dissipate, and Heras was about to complete his advancement process, they did not see an enemy coming. There are actually no hostile god spirits coming to stop us? Bai he was stunned. It's hard to imagine. Patriarch Lu also shook his head. Then he smiled and made a guess. Could it be that he knows that it's useless even if he comes, so he simply doesn't see and doesn't feel annoyed? Possibly. Bai he nodded. At this moment, a figure that looked like a blazing sun flew towards them at high speed. It was Heras, who had already become a true deity-level god spirit. Chapter 1017 Blazing Sun True God Tier, Heras. True God Tier Blazing Sun greets your majesty. Heras knelt respectfully in the void and looked at Zhou gratefully. He had been stuck at the high-tier deity-level elementary grade for tens of thousands of years and hadn't even reached the high-tier deity-level intermediate grade. Didn't he join the Elven Empire and become the Elven Empire's worshipped god spirit because he wanted to use the Elven Empire's resources to advance to a higher level? At that time, he didn't even dare to think about becoming a true god tier. He only wanted to become a high-tier deity-level advanced grade, or even a high-tier deity-level intermediate grade. In the end, after staying for a long time, not only did he not obtain any advancement, he even put himself in danger several times because he was fighting for the Elven Empire and almost died. From then on, he had given up. He had been doing badly in the Elven Empire every day. Even if the Elven Empire reduced his resources as a worshipped god spirit, he did not care anymore. Until His Majesty arrived, not only did His Majesty allow him to quickly advance to the high-tier deity-level advanced grade, but he also generously rewarded him with a Master God-level book of the God Spirit when he faced the bottleneck of the true God tier. Not only would he be able to advance to the true God tier, but he would also have a chance to become a Master God tier. Such a great favor was like being reborn. How could Heras not be grateful to Zhou? Bai he and Patriarch Lu looked at Heras' expression, then looked at each other and couldn't help but click their tongues in wonder. Was this the charm of the common people's regal? Even a true god tier would be willing to follow this speaker of the human race so loyally if he had the supreme power to destroy and create a world. At the same time, Zhou was a little stunned as he looked at the other parties suddenly expanding in purer line of faith. A smile slowly appeared on his face. He had actually become his Holy Spirit tier believer. It was worth it to give him a Master God tier book of the God Spirit. He recalled what the other party had just said. He stroked his chin and suddenly asked, "True God tier Blazing Sun? Have you completely inherited the path of the Blazing Sun God?" "Yes, Your Majesty," Heras said respectfully. "Blazing Sun's path overlaps with mine extremely much. Furthermore, my nomological path has many flaws. These flaws will prevent me from advancing to a higher level. However, God Lord Blazing Sun's nomological path has almost no flaws. It's a path that can truly unblock Master God tier's nomological path. Therefore, I simply abandoned my nomological path and completely accepted Blazing Sun's nomological path. That's why I successfully became a true God tier." Zhou acknowledged. He already had the original sin and the demon-hunting true god, Gelt the heavenly dragon god, Kika, the true god Shenghua, and the Blazing Sun true god, Heras now. This could even surpass the requirements for the Empire to advance to become a true god tier in the Divine Kingdom. He wondered what the Elven Empire, which had put in so much effort and sacrificed so many benefits to seek the protection of the true god tier, would think. You've just become a true god tier, and don't have any true god tier divine artifacts on you yet. Zhou took out a spatial ring and handed it to the other party. There are 6 true god tier divine artifacts inside. They are all true god tier divine artifacts that are extremely compatible with your Blazing Sun laws. One of them is a reward for advancing to the true god tier. The remaining 5 true God-tier divine artifacts are temporarily lent to you. In the future, if you immediately make great contributions, such as killing a true God-tier of the same level, you can use military merits to take one away and make it your personal true God-tier divine artifacts. As soon as these words were spoken, Bai He and Patriarch Lu could not help but click their tongues. Those were 6 true God-tier divine artifacts. Moreover, they were true God-tier divine artifacts that were compatible with the laws that the other party cultivated. One could imagine how precious they were. However, Zhou handed it over to the other party without hesitation. This was really generous. The two of them looked at Zhou. Now, Zhou and his Blazing Sun Kingdom had long been exposed to all races. Some matters regarding the Blazing Sun Kingdom had already spread like wildfire. One of the things was, all the officials, soldiers, grassroots subjects, and even former surrendered soldiers of the Blazing Sun Kingdom were extremely difficult to instigate and incite defection. When the common people's regal and the Blazing Sun Kingdom had just started, the myriad races had sent spies, and other secret intelligence personnel to infiltrate the Blazing Sun Kingdom, to investigate and gather information. They even wanted to corrupt the Blazing Sun Kingdom from within and cause it to collapse. However, to their disbelief, regardless of how many secret intelligence personnel they had sent out, they immediately lost all news not long after they joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Even if they sent back information, it was only fake information. Some intelligence agents would even pass on fake information, causing them to suffer heavy losses because of fake information. Obviously, their plan to send their clansmen to infiltrate the Blazing Sun Kingdom had failed. Not only did they fail, they had even lost the intelligence personnel they had painstakingly nurtured. After this matter was verified many times and confirmed that the Blazing Sun Kingdom indeed had a mysterious magic that could make the enemy change sides, the myriad races rarely sent intelligence personnel to the Blazing Sun Kingdom. Hence, not long after, there were rumors that the Blazing Sun Kingdom had the Lord talent to change the loyalty of the subjects in the territory. Patriarch Lu and the others had naturally heard of this matter and had their own guesses. However, when they saw the scene in front of them, a new idea appeared in their minds. Even if Zhou doesn't have the Lord talent to change the loyalty of the subjects, with his generosity, it's probably very simple for a subject or even a god spirit to be dead loyal to him, right? The two deities thought to themselves. At the same time, Heros took the spatial ring from Zhou. When he saw the 6 elementary grade true god-tier divine artifacts inside, he immediately trembled with excitement. With these 6 true god-tier divine artifacts, in addition, he had the master god-tier legacy of Blazing Sun. The current him was enough to crush any true god-tier elementary grade enemy without true god-tier divine artifacts. Even if it was a true god-tier intermediate grade enemy, as long as it was not a top-notch true god-tier intermediate grade expert, he had the confidence to win. As for true god-tier advanced grade enemies, Heros was also confident that he could escape safely from them. Giving these 6 true god-tier divine artifacts to he was equivalent to turning a tiger into a winged flying tiger. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was like a tiger with wings. After chatting for a while he asked, Zhou, the humans of the primordial world have roughly been settled down. We have time now, so Patriarch Lu and I plan to hunt the true god-tiers of the people of foreign races. What are your plans? I intend to continue cultivating to increase my strength. Without hesitation, Zhou voiced his thoughts. His current power was only at the low-tier deity level intermediate grade. Even if he could rely on the Law Skill King to advance to the true god-tier intermediate grade, it would only be in a temporary state. In any case, his 2 clones were already in control outside. Be it government affairs or military affairs, they wouldn't be delayed because he was absent. Therefore, he naturally had to focus on improving his strength. After he finished speaking, he asked, Do you have a target? We plan to go to the territory of the Rakshasa race and kill the true god-tier of the Blood Sea, In Luo. This fellow doesn't interact with the other true god-tier of the Rakshasa race all year round. However, He participated in the battle to stop the humans from retreating to the primordial world. Therefore we plan to attack him first. Patriarch Lu said. Are you confident? Zhou asked. If it was before, we definitely wouldn't be confident. Patriarch Lu and Baihe smiled. Then Baihe uttered with a smile. But now, we have a full set of true God-tier divine artifacts that we borrowed from you. We can still offer it a try. Zhou nodded, then gazed at Heraus. Heraus, in that case accompany me. Yes, your majesty. Heraus immediately uttered excitedly. He had just grasped the power of a true God-tier, and was worried that he wouldn't be able to find an enemy to practice the power he had just obtained. This was an opportunity he needed. Chapter 1018 Operation to Hunt a True God-tier. Total War. Thank you for your help. Baihe and Patriarch Lu were pleasantly surprised. Even though Heraus had just advanced to the true God-tier, he walked the laws and was extremely good at combat. Coupled with the support of his true God-tier divine artifacts, it was not a problem for him to fight against a true God-tier intermediate grade expert from the people of foreign races. To him, it was naturally a great help. Originally, they only had about 60% confidence in this operation. Now that Heraus had joined them, they immediately felt that the success rate of their trip had increased to more than 80%. Same old rules. As long as you can bring the corpse of a true God-tier over, you can receive a true God-tier divine artifact from me, or make a true God-tier divine artifact you borrowed your own. Okay. The three true God-tiers became excited. Then they did not waste any more time. They borrowed a galaxy from Zhou and boarded it, flying towards the territory of the Rakshasa race. Zhou smiled when he saw this. Then, he leisurely returned to the time world, and continued to comprehend the Lord's laws. At the same time, in a cold place extremely far away from the blazing Sun Kingdom, in the war conference room inside the Galaxy Leader, Zhou Fight was looking at the virtual map projected in front of him. At this moment, a general walked in and said happily, Your Majesty, another legendary tier advanced grade forbidden mage, Jiang Quan, has just advanced to a low-tier deity level elementary grade god spirit. Another one? While Zhou Fight was happy, his expression was also a little strange. This is the 8th today, right? He asked. Yes, Your Majesty, the general said respectfully. I understand. Let the newly promoted god spirit wait for the conferment reward tonight. You can leave first. Zhou Fight said. I'll take my leave, the general said respectfully. Then, he brought up the war conference room, leaving Zhou Fight standing there thoughtfully. I didn't expect the effects of the blessing of the war god to be so outstanding after it was upgraded to the mythical tier. In less than a morning, a total of 8 legendary tier advanced grade soldiers advanced to god spirits. If this goes on for an entire day, won't the number of new god spirits break through to 20? Zhou Fight mumbled. It was definitely impossible to do this with Terrence's supreme blessing alone. After all, compared to the legendary tier lord talent, it only increased the additional promotion energy by 1000%. It's probably the war fanatics at work. He can allow the living beings and even god spirits participating in the war to break through the limits of their potential and reach a higher realm of strength amidst the horror of life and death. This is the only reason why we're in such a situation. Among the soldiers under my main body, even with the enhancement of the sword of Xian Yuan and other potential treasures, there are many soldiers whose potential has not been raised to the god spirit level after all. Zhou Fight thought to himself. Then, a smile appeared on his face. This new mythical tier unique lord talent was really useful. It was not in vain that his main body had spent 1 billion green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments to upgrade it. In the future, when they left the supreme continent and waited for the master god tier to stand on his side, those people of foreign races would probably be dumbfounded. At the thought of something interesting, Zhou Fight's smile widened. Then, he didn't think too much about it. He continued to look at the virtual map in front of him, as he drafted today's war plan in his mind. The race they planned to destroy today was called the Moon Demon Race. It was an extremely weak demon race. It was so weak that it did not even have an empire-level lord faction. However, although they were extremely weak, their reproductive ability was extremely strong. The total number of their clansmen exceeded 1,500 trillion. And even such a weak race dared to participate in the war, to stop the humans from retreating to the primordial world. So much for taking advantage of the situation. Now that Zhou and company had the time, they could spare some time to deal with them. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, the sky darkened. In the Divine Kingdom world in the time-space, Zhou slowly opened his eyes, a look of joy on his face. After I obtained the new mythical Tier 1 Lord talent, I feel that my aptitude in the Lord's Law seems to have become stronger. If I spend another day in the time world tomorrow, I'll definitely be able to advance to the low-tier deity level advanced grade. It turned out that increasing the strength of one's talent could also increase the aptitude of one's Lord Law. Then, he had to increase his mythical Tier 1 and only Lord talent in the future. At this moment, he said to the outside, "Let Bai Yin in." Outside the hall, Aaliyah, who was about to go in and report, was stunned for a moment before retreating obediently. Soon Bai Yin walked over. "Greetings, Your Majesty," he said respectfully. "How's the battle today?" Zhou looked at him and asked. "Good God." Even from a long distance away, he could sense that the other party had at least 1 billion grudges attached to him. How many people of foreign races had he killed? "Your Majesty, everything went well. It's just that the moon demons are a little tough. They only have 2 low-level true god tier powerhouses." Facing His Majesty's clone as well as Lord Kika, Lord Geralt, and Lord True God Shenghua, they actually don't want to surrender but insist on resisting. Therefore, I can only order the army and the true god tiers to exterminate all the moon demons who are unwilling to surrender. Bai Yin said expressionlessly. "Well done." Zhou gazed at he for a long time before nodding. "Your Majesty, this is a summary by Lady Wunya. It's a list of the wars of today." After Bai Yin finished speaking, she controlled her personal terminal. With a tap of her finger, she projected the list of battles in front of Zhou. Zhou looked at it. This morning, Bai Yin and the other soldiers and deity spirits specialized in hunting the eye of the heaven's anger. They hunted a total of 30 god spirits and obtained 13 trillion faction points. Along the way, they also killed more than 320 million fog monsters and enemies from the people of foreign races. In the afternoon, he went to the territory of the moon demon race. In this short afternoon, he had wiped out more than 1,200 trillion moon demons, more than 11.5 billion moon demon soldiers, 212 ordinary moon demon god spirits, and 2 true god tier moon demons. The conflict supplies departed behind by these enemies, the racial reserves of the moon demon race, and their combat items were enhanced by the titles of the King of Lutes and the Strongest Lord. They obtained a total of more than 830 million legendary tier mist cores, more than 412 billion epic tier mist cores, more than 105.096 billion extraordinary tier mist cores, 529.315 billion diamond tier mist cores, 152 billion white platinum tier mist cores, 359 billion yellow gold tier mist cores, 5 trillion white silver tier mist cores, 6 trillion green bronze tier mist cores, 96 million black iron tier mist cores. There were more than 200 billion skill books and 300 billion pieces of equipment. The basic materials were about 100 trillion units. Basic elemental gemstone resources, more than 10 billion 32 million units. More than 250 million units of thunder element gems. 430,000 units of life elemental gems. 520 million units of death elemental gems. More than 1 million units of time elemental gems. More than 2 million units of space elemental gems. 13 billion 88 million origin crystals. 1,252,000, 9630 green bronze tier lord talent crystal fragments. 58,001 holy spirit tier faith holy crystals. More than 510 million units of holy crystals from low tier to high tier deity level. 80 true God-tier elementary grade divine crystals. More than 2 million low-tier to high-tier deity-level divine artifacts. 6 true God-tier holy artifacts. There was also a total of about 2 million holy spark fragments, God-tier medicinal herbs, God-tier ingredients, God-tier ores, God-tier blueprints, and other treasures. Zhou nodded slightly after reading this part of the summary. Even though the overall gains were far inferior to the gains from the destruction of the Fire Cry race yesterday, however, there were many life elemental gems and death elemental gems. The life elemental gems and death elemental gems are enough. I can upgrade my territory to the legendary tier elementary grade. Zhou thought. Chapter 1019 Light Sacred Dragon. Ingersoll upgraded to a low-tier deity-level elementary grade. Then, Zhou looked at the God Spirit list and the military strength list. He first looked at the list of God Spirits. After today's battle, a total of 25 legendary tier advanced grade soldiers had advanced to low-tier deity-level elementary grade God Spirits. This allowed Zhou to have 621 God Spirits under his command. In terms of insight defection, first of all, Zhou Fight had used the insight defection twice on behalf of him on the battlefield today. Even though it was only against 2 people of foreign races with a body mass of 2 billion, the results of the 2 insight defections had also brought Zhou 1,617,869,360 billion soldiers of foreign races. As for the Star Alliance Masters, after following the army to participate in the war between the people of foreign races yesterday, they had also instigated Zhou's insight defection, with 2,118,600,000 and 1,780 people of foreign race soldiers. Currently, the total number of soldiers under Zhou's command was 112,804,281,114 soldiers. Including the Star Alliance's current 24,112,000,000 troops, the total number of troops under Zhou's command had already reached more than 136 billion soldiers. Zhou frowned slightly when he saw this. The benefits of insight defection have decreased. It's not as good as the beginning where the prophets have amazed me. Zhou shook his head. The reason why the benefits of this Lord talent became so small was mainly because his insight defection's target range was limited to a specific Lord's faction. For example, he wanted to fight with a certain Lord faction, and this Lord faction had 5 Lord factions under its command. Then when he used insight defection, he could only use insight defection on one of the other party's Lord factions, not on the entire alliance of Lord factions. This greatly affected the benefits of this Lord talent. Zhou had originally planned to use the 1 billion green bronze tier Lord talent crystal fragments he had accumulated to increase his Lord talent. But now that he saw the benefits, he hesitated. This benefit didn't seem worth it. However, after some thought, he decided to upgrade it. Firstly, this Lord talent had been with him for a long time, and he had used it the most. Even if the effect of insight defection had weakened now, the internal strife effect produced in the war was still very good. Moreover, he wanted to continue upgrading it. Secondly, generally speaking, when a Lord talent reached the mythical tier level, there would usually be a qualitative change. After the insight defection underwent a qualitative change, it might make up for these shortcomings. Thirdly, Zhou had a feeling. This mythical tier insight defection, the only Lord talent, would be very important to his future. This feeling was very unreasonable. However, when it came to experts like Zhou who could sense fate, he began to value this premonition that was similar to a sudden inspiration. Therefore, he chose to continue upgrading the Lord talent insight defection. As for the shocking number of newly advanced God spirits, even though this was somewhat beyond Zhou's expectations, he felt that it was reasonable when he thought about the effect of the newly advanced mythical tier, unique Lord talent. Then, he looked at the list of troops. Even though many of the moon demons were very stubborn and were unwilling to accept the Blazing Sun Kingdom's persuasion to surrender, and they were not successfully instigated by the insight defection, A small portion of the moon demons joined the Blazing Sun Kingdom before and after the war, because they were afraid of the Blazing Sun Kingdom's powerful strength. These moon demons were divided into two portions. A portion of them were naturally ordinary moon demons, without extraordinary tier powers. There were about 300 trillion of them, and they were temporarily arranged in the original territory of the moon demons. They were not allowed to migrate, and they were treated the same as the Fire Cry race. Another group was the moon demons' military professionals. There were about 2.5 billion of them. When Zhou saw this number, he couldn't be bothered to ask them to bring it back. He asked them to stay where they were to protect the moon demon territory, and that alone naturally wasn't enough to completely rule the Moonfiend territory. Zheng Yuanqi had already discussed with the other officials to send a large number of officials and soldiers to guard the Fire Cry human race's territory and the Moon Demon race's territory. Then, they would manage the territories of the people of foreign races according to the situation. For example, tailor-made governance policies. It would increase the relationship between the Fire Criers, the Moon Demons, and the humans. Coupled with Zhou's unquestionable prestige and strength, as well as his good policy towards the subjects in the country, all the races liked to live a good life. At that time, even if other people of foreign races said that the Fire Cry human race and the Moon Demon race should sentence the Blazing Sun Kingdom to fight against the common people's regal and the Blazing Sun Kingdom with them, they would retaliate without hesitation and would think that the other party had ulterior motives. Of course, there was also the use of the Lord Talent peaceful times. Speaking of which, currently, Zhou had a total of 112,842,811,114 troops under his command, excluding the Star Alliance. Among them, there were 1,279,699,252 Black Iron Tier soldiers, 5,780,129,593 Green Bronze Tier soldiers, 21,393,452,845 White Silver Tier soldiers, 47,231,029,800 Yellow Gold Tier soldiers, 10,763,159,862 White Platinum Tier soldiers, 8,696,058,770 Diamond Tier soldiers, 6,610,698,780 Extraordinary Tier soldiers, 2,517,893,900 Epic Tier soldiers, 10,259,650 Legendary Tier soldiers. As for the god spirits under him, their strength had increased to varying degrees after today's battle. Among them, Guoqiao, Qi Xiantian, Yuan Song, and Zaiwu had advanced to high-tier deity level advance grade, and had already reached the threshold of true god tier. Vicky by Yen Wu Xian, Feng Luo, Suan, and Luo Sheng had all advanced to the high-tier deity level elementary grade. Nazario and Ji Long had become mid-tier deity level elementary grades. Light Sacred Dragon, Ingesol had been promoted to a low-tier deity level elementary grade deity, and was suspected to have combat power close to that of a true god. He could hold on for a period of time in a fight with a true god tier. Even though he would be at a disadvantage, he would not be in danger of losing his life. The strength of the other god spirits had also increased greatly. When Zhou saw the god's advancement, his face immediately revealed joy. While he had already expected that the god spirits under him might receive a huge enlarge in their strength because of the mythical, only Lord Talent of the 10 Sacred Blessings, the protection of the War Master God, Terence, he didn't expect the increase to be so great. There were actually quite a quantity of god spirits who had already reached the threshold of advancing to true god tier, which meant, as long as they fulfilled the nomological requirements to advance to true god tier, they could successfully advance to true god tier. What satisfied Zhou the most was that the Light Sacred Dragon, Ingesol, had finally advanced to the deity level. His talent did not disappoint Zhou. As soon as he elevated to the low-tier deity level elementary grade, he had the power to fight a true god tier. Even though he could not win the battle, he could barely protect himself in the battle. However, this was also an extremely shocking achievement. He could be considered to have some of the elegance of a master like him, as expected of a legendary dragon. You're tuning in to the Limei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.